Thunder Grunt.
Hey guys!
Hey, Bob!
Bob!
Introduce yourselves. Give me your Twitter handles.
I am Jimmy George. I am a screenwriter and script consultant. I am at Jimmy R. George on Twitter.
I am Jamie Nash. I am a screenwriter and author of the new sci-fi thriller, Nomad, now available on Amazon. That's actually serious. So go click on it. It wasn't like a shtick or something. Anyway, my Twitter handle is Jamie _Nash.
And I'm Bob Rose. I am an owner of Nomad, and I haven't read it yet, so I apologize to Jamie on the podcast that I have not read the book yet. And I am at Thundergrunt Bob. But I'm saying buy the book.
Buy the book.
Buy the book.
It's
Buy
kind
the
of.
book. I haven't bought it. I'm a terrible friend.
It's my Patreon.
See, he's worse than me, Jamie.
He's waiting for the freebie.
He's waiting for you to send him a PDF. Yeah, just a free one. Yeah. So today we're gonna have. I feel like this is almost a sequel episode, guys.
Yes.
Because we kind of have a loyalty to two horror filmmakers on this show.
So interesting.
One is Jordan Peele, and the other is Ari Aster. Now, I guess this kind of cements us.
And soon to be Chris Rock.
And soon to be
right. The next
wow. Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
I am too.
Yeah. Anyway, but we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna say it. Midsommar.
Midsommar.
Midsummer.
Samar.
This is America.
Right. Midsommar.
Come on.
Right. Do it. Yeah. We don't. I think that's how you pronounce it. Midsommar.
I mean, that's how he was saying it in
on
some
that
of the
podcast.
podcasts?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about Midsommar.
If it's good enough for Ari Aster.
Well, it's his word,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. That's how he pronounced it.
Jamie, so far, how much of a blockbuster is Midsommar?
It is blowing the doors off of cinemas at $20 million.
Wow.
That's how much it's made
Domestically?
domestically.
Oh.
It doesn't have a foreign total yet. Probably hasn't been released, but it'll be huge in Sweden.
I do want to know how Swedish people think of this movie.
Yeah, they'll probably be cool with it. It's Sweden. That's why you choose Sweden.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
They're like,
But
shrug.
For anyone that hasn't listened to our show, we have an episode on Hereditary, which I think is our most divisive and volatile episode. Not because of Jamie, it's me and Jimmy.
Yeah.
So that was like something that never happened before,
No.
actually. So we all thought
that
it came to blows.
It
came to blows. Fisticuffs were
Right.
thrown. Is that right? I don't know how that works.
And we still don't really know who won. We just, but we thought that this would be the same thing, and I feel like the tone is that this is not going to be the same.
Not
thing.
at all.
Shit turned around quick with Jimmy over here.
Yeah, when
it was like one day it was hot, the next day, oh wait a minute.
I saw this movie and I texted Bob and Jamie immediately, and I was like, yeah, I think it's a brilliant film. I give it an A+ and I hate it. But
you also tweeted that exact.
Yeah, I actually tweeted it's my first. I just finished my first and last screening of Midsommar, and then I went. Well, because I do think that.
And then Ari Aster tweeted at him and did a clapback.
Ari Aster sent us all gift baskets, and then
right.
Jimmy went and saw it again and really loved it.
With like runes.
Right.
No, so I went back because I wanted to see, because I thought it was so well made that I was like, I got to figure out why I didn't enjoy it, because I could appreciate the artistry, you know?
I mean, you said so much about Hereditary too, like well made.
Well made.
That's not an argument, really.
But I mean, Jamie, we were talking about this right before we started, that like we both have problems still with Hereditary, but not with this. And why do you think that is?
Hereditary sucks. No,
I still like it. I'm
I-
still the defender.
No, if you go back to that episode, I actually enjoyed Hereditary, but I had problems
That's
with
what I'm saying.
You were in the middle there.
I didn't think it actually added up in a way. Like, I think it promised one thing and delivered another. I think this thing to me was very similar to Hereditary, but it didn't make a promise of one thing and then deliver another. I felt like it was the same train the whole time.
Yeah.
It
that's
ended exactly as I had assumed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is that. Now, I don't know if I like that more
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
get
mean?
you're
Like,
saying.
I don't know if that's a positive.
I
Yeah.
get what
I've
you're
seen
saying.
like how many movies that are this movie
yeah.
already. So that it is kind of odd that he kind of did make a movie that was like his cheeseburger. They're like, this is as much of a cheeseburger
Yeah.
as he's gonna make.
You know, here's
you
one
know?
thing I'll say. This will probably be the only negative thing I say about, and it's
Take
jumping
him down, Jamie.
It's jumping
Take 'em.
ahead a little bit, but it's in
Okay.
comparison
Go
to
ahead.
Hereditary.
Yeah.
So one of the problems I had with Hereditary, it's a grief movie. You know, it's a movie about grief. That's what we hear. It's a movie
Yeah.
about grief. And I felt the setup of that. I saw grief. I saw it handled pretty well in some scenes, but I didn't see a take on it, or I didn't see a development. It just showed me like a scene with grief. Like, and
Yeah.
I thought it worked, but I didn't feel like I got like what the point was about it.
Right.
This movie is similar in some ways that he keeps saying it's a breakup movie, but I'm not exactly sure of his point about the breakup. Like, that part of it doesn't deliver. Oh, I get
Gotcha.
his point about breakups. It just shows me a breakup in some ways.
Gotcha.
I don't even know
think
if
I
it's a
figured it out after.
Okay.
Yeah, but we
So-
can go touch on it later.
I think-
but is that the main
That
difference?
discussion's a lot longer than
And
a
then I-
podcast too.
Yeah.
Almost like
I mean,
that's a big discussion.
I took right from the text to
good.
give examples.
Okay.
But to me, it didn't bother me in this movie because I felt like that was what the answer I was almost waiting for in the other one, and it turned out to be about the horror more than in this. I don't know.
Gotcha.
It's there,
Okay.
I'm kind
so
of
it's almost like a premise delivery thing.
Yeah, kind of.
This one had more satisfying premise delivery for you.
yeah.
I saw a lot of people, I think maybe not thinking about it as much as you were, Jamie,
Mhm.
comparing it like it, or you actually might have said this, but I've seen other people say it,
Mhm.
that it reminded them more of Hostel than anything else.
I said that. Yeah.
I've seen other people actually say that too.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks a lot to the premise delivery more than the
I
theme.
agree.
You know what I
I
mean?
agree,
Because
yeah.
Hostel's not exactly a theme type movie.
No.
Well,
yeah, right.
So here we go. That dovetails right into the next question: who
Right.
wrote it? And
Ari
and,
Aster.
Ari Aster wrote it. There
Yeah.
are a couple other people on the screenplay that we noticed. If you find the screenplay online, there's two other folks. Let's see if I have it here. They are Swedish. The Swedish chef. That's my Swedish chef.
That was good, Jamie.
Patrick Anderson, I guess, and Martin Karlqvist. I don't know how you pronounce them.
Okay.
You pronounce the V? Is it just
Jamie's
Karlqvist?
always stuck with pronouncing the names.
yeah.
That's why I should have let him pronounce the movie
So-
title.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they got an original concept by credit, and then, but what I read about was that this was actually a gun for hire. He was hired to write this before he even made Hereditary,
Right.
and they wanted a hostile style movie. They
Oh.
said, hey, they had the concept. They said, hey, we want a hostile style movie set in Sweden around this festival, this kind of pagan festival, sacrifice and all that
Wow.
stuff.
Okay.
They pitched him that, and he said, well, how do I get into that? How do I wrap my head? He actually says, I've heard many interviews, that'll be the last assignment he ever does. But his way in was he was going through a breakup at the time, and he thought, maybe I'll just write that into it, and then I'll be able to have my characters, and I'll feel things through, and I can make a movie about a breakup within this other horror, hostile style movie.
Gotcha.
So
So that makes a lot of sense.
Explains a lot. And
That
it
makes-
feels
that-
like
that's also a good point into what we were talking about a little before the podcast, which is this movie is not only was he asked to work it into his own movie, but this is not like a response or like his sophomore effort really to Hereditary.
I think that's important to know because I
It
didn't
is.
know that.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Right, because like he said, he was just ready to shoot when Hereditary blew up.
Yeah.
So it's not like,
So they were this
you
was
guys liked
in-
Hereditary, wait for this. There's none of that.
No.
That's not what this is.
mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
not like us. Like
Jordan Peele's
like
Us.
Get Out versus Us.
Right, like Get Out was a
It's
hit that
not
he was
that
not
same
expecting.
situation.
They were almost parallel developments, and then one was
That's-
shot after
yeah.
the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
So
was
this, I just like, because I think a lot of people are like, reacting to it as though it were Hereditary was a big hit. Now take this, and no, that's not what this is.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Man.
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
love knowing that.
I didn't know
is
that he was
so-
hired gun though. That's
Yeah,
even
yeah.
more interesting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because it's like it feels like such an auteur effort, and to know
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
I think he's an auteur to the point where if you hired him to do anything, he
it
would
would
turn
just come
it.
across that
Yeah.
way.
But
yeah.
and by the way, just real quick on those credits. So that original story by that's the kind of thing, and I don't know if he's WGA or not because he might have only written Hereditary, which could have been independent, and this, which could have been independent. He may not be WGA yet. I don't
Okay.
know, but in WGA world, you can pull or non-WGA world, in independent world, you can actually put a credit like original story by or story by or stuff. But once you get in the WGA, those things are harder. They have very specific slots for credits, and there's specific things you have to do to get those credits. And it doesn't look like, at least on IMDb, I didn't notice on the film
I didn't
that
either.
that credit is in there or not.
I didn't either.
So
yeah.
you'd have to go back to the movie to see
Yeah.
if that's there. But on IMDb, he gets sole credit.
Sole
for
credit.
the
Okay.
story. and
Interesting.
screenplay. Yep.
Interesting. Which
Well,
is
They probably. I mean, in the end, they on just like not without the rules, they probably didn't do much besides just say the things you already said. Right.
That's right.
We want a Swedish
guess.
movie with the
maybe it was like a
festival.
courtesy
yeah.
on the script because
Yeah.
and Jamie, you said you skimmed the script, right? You
Mhm.
read a little bit
I
of
did.
it,
I did.
and I read it last night. It's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, and then we're gonna get into it later. There's a lot that they cut, which is fascinating to me because it's only 118 pages,
Mm-hmm.
but the movie's like
Yeah.
almost like 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think
Something
it
like
is
that.
238, and there's 20.
It's not a minute a
There's
page.
24 pages of cut material from the
Right.
script. So it's like, how is the script only 118 pages and like almost what they kept is almost word for word?
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and that shows all the filmmaking, the
Right,
the
right.
slow and all the atmosphere built into the way it was captured.
As usual in this podcast, we kind of analyzed the story, screenplay by the movie, but in this
Yeah.
case, we might jump into a couple places.
Yeah, I
where
think
read
it's
the script.
instructive because the choices made were good.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
really good.
It's a hard angle to take on a podcast when you're reviewing a movie too. You know,
oh, what about
to not
those
talk
deleted
no
scenes?
to not talk about stuff like deleted scenes
Oh,
and
yeah,
filmmaking.
yeah.
Filmmaking.
Yeah. Well,
It's hard not
and
to.
they're
Yeah.
teasing. What are they teasing? They're teasing another cut, right?
Yes. Yeah. A longer
Right.
cut.
What's interesting is all the scenes that are cut, they're not like sensational.
Mhm.
So I'm fascinated to
mhm.
see what they shot that could be sensational. You know what I mean? It's not really a script talk,
But he
it's
must
good.
really want it in there. He's
Yeah,
too much of an
yeah,
auteur to
yeah,
do a
yeah,
director's cut
yeah,
without having
yeah.
that. So
But
right.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, horror movies and opening sequences.
Yes.
Let's talk about that because
Yeah, well, this is well, I'll probably get into my one other question about
Do
this
it.
movie.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But this movie is one with a super slow burn, and
Mhm.
jumping a little bit ahead, it'd be hard to logline this movie without kind of giving away the twist. But really, nobody, and I know we're going to talk about goals and stuff later,
Mhm.
but it takes a while before they get into really a life or death goal
Well,
stake.
if
ever.
What's,
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
should
that's on
I
my
should have looked this up, but
list.
what is the log line to Wicker Man?
Oh,
It's got to
Yeah.
have one, right?
Yeah, it's a,
But-
a detective.
but see that is
Searching
a,
for a
searching
girl.
for somebody. He's got like an A story.
It's a
But it
detective
has to have
story.
but it has to have a long.
Yeah,
line,
and the difference with that one is it is a detective story.
Yeah.
So there is a kind of life or death goal that he's searching for a missing
Well, you
girl.
could-
Yeah, I think we
You can
go.
transfer it to kids looking for a good time.
Exactly.
I know it's not as
It's
good, but
that's my point. Is it's kind of low stakes.
yeah,
They're not really bringing the action in that.
No.
Really the whole movie they're experiencing action, which is a weird thing.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of agency to the
Yeah.
characters.
No,
Uh,
and okay, so and I will share some examples
okay.
of the deleted scenes. That's to me, that was why I think I didn't enjoy it as much. Like horror movies to me are simulated danger experiences, and what I enjoy about them is when characters have agency and are able to survive. I go to horror movies for the experience of watching how someone gets out of a situation, and these are less exercises in simulated danger and more exercises in like simulated grief.
Yeah.
And
And I'd
however,
also say-
there was an example of that in the movie.
there's lots of simulated
yeah.
danger, but
No, that's not what I mean. There's only two characters who act like human beings in this whole movie, in my opinion.
Interesting.
And that's the couple who freak out after the rock jumping.
yeah.
Scene. And they're the only bastion the audience has for people acting like people.
Like
audience.
people.
Yeah, the audience, because like
I think that's
once-
thematic.
no, it is totally
Yeah.
like once that happens, most humans will be like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
you guys have fun, I'm out, and that's what those two people did, and we saw their fate
Yeah.
and everything. But the rest of their main characters don't act like humans whatsoever, and it's covered up with drugs, obviously.
Right.
That's the only way to cover it, right?
Also through their anthropologic viewpoint.
Yeah, right,
Their
yes.
passion.
Like we can distance. We don't have to judge the culture.
I thought that worked
can
really
step
well.
away from
I think it
thought that
did.
was really
It kinda
fucking smart.
It almost felt like a little bit of a commentary on like maybe slacktivists or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a little bit.
No,
but
and I think
yeah.
that's thematic too.
because they're
Yeah.
kind of woke in their own way by
Like they're
by
so woke.
allowing
I think they're-
suicide.
I think
you
they're
know, this
fake
horrible
woke.
thing. Yeah, that's
That's
exactly
what it is.
it.
It's all
I was
false.
trying not to put my own politics in there.
No, you're right.
No,
you're
like
right.
that. I
Yeah.
think he's pointing fingers.
He's
at them
fake
being
woke, yeah.
Fake woke.
Yeah.
So we can jump more intensely into goals later, but I will say what I was gonna say about that, which
Go
is
for it.
it's like a horror movie where no one's trying to like survive until like very late.
I think what the movie's trying to do, and I know this is mixing everything up, I think what it's trying to do is give us the same feeling they have, which is sort of unease and surrealness.
Awkwardness.
Yeah, so it's a movie we watch and we're just like, what the, it's
This is a
something
great
weird.
segue.
And yeah.
There's
And,
no build to the horror.
It's more the creep factor. There's a creep, even though the weird thing about this movie, it's so beautiful and the people are nice.
Yeah.
That you're in this weird thing where on one hand there's tension, and the other hand you're like, oh, it's like a little touch of heaven, or
Yeah.
something here.
It kind of looks like the town from Big Fish.
yeah.
Yeah.
The heaven.
That's
Doesn't
a
it?
great. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the process that was pointed to. It's so
It's that town
so
from Big Fish.
so
Right.
Yep.
similar in the way it's realized.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she doesn't. Okay, so one of
Go
the
for it.
deleted
Yeah.
scenes, and I think it's really I'm fascinated by the deleted scenes. Directly after
Mhm.
the suicides, there's a big 4-page argument between Danny and Christian
Mm.
that is your standard horror movie argument, debating that they're in danger, that there's a threat, they shouldn't be here, and she's like begging for him to leave with her. She's like, I'm scared, like these
Well,
people are dangerous.
There
like,
it is.
No, but
Yeah.
almost every deleted scene that is cut with Danny is her expressing what a normal horror movie character does, which is like, things are going wrong, we have to get out of here, I'm scared, expressing like wanting to escape and expressing fear of survival. All that stuff is in the script.
I
And
almost
then they-
don't want that to be back in the
That's
movie.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
I think
Yeah.
it makes it better, and I wouldn't have said that.
I would have, because her turn in the end, to me, if she had those feelings,
I'd be like, what's going on?
yeah, what's going on?
Right.
How did she abruptly change?
I think it's a very instructive choice.
Because the ending
Yeah.
feels
to cut it.
natural. Because like you're like she's broken from moment
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
gets there.
Yeah, it's just
But
like,
that would make me go, oh wait, she's a human still.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
still
She's ready.
human.
She
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
I saw it with a psychiatrist my first screening, and like 5 minutes in after the opening sequence,
That's a weird sentence. But go ahead.
he said, I saw it with a psychiatrist.
I saw it with a
my friend
psychiatrist.
is a psychiatrist,
okay,
and he
okay.
was like, he looked at me.
He's like hired a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
It's a new form of therapy.
Yeah, it was grief therapy.
Right.
I saw it with a psychiatrist, and he told me, I mean, he's not.
Jimmy was so upset by the first watch, he had to take his psychiatrist.
Tony's a listener. He's
Oh,
not
great.
technically a psychiatrist, but he's a doctor in psychology.
Okay,
He looked
okay.
at me and he said, "She is cult ready." After the opening sequence, he looked at me and he said, "She is your standard cult ready."
Right. She's
king
broken.
person."
She's vulnerable. Like she's
Yeah.
all there.
And I was like,
right.
well, if it's coming from you, man, like, yeah. So I thought it was very interesting that it is a horror movie where people are not expressing like they don't want to escape. They're not worried about their survival until the end, and then the script they are like consistently.
I mean,
there's a scene.
there's
so
the dissertation or the paper. What is it that they're writing?
Thesis.
thesis.
The thesis statement. Like that's sort of that one character's like through line. Like he'll put up with anything
Mhm.
to get his
Right.
thing done. But also, it makes my problem if I had anything with his character is it makes him seem stupid when he didn't seem stupid at all. I was like, you're smart enough to understand what's happening,
Right.
but you're willing to risk it for a school
for this.
paper?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. You didn't believe that choice.
I didn't believe that guy was, and he didn't even seem like he was doing drugs. They didn't really press
Yeah.
that on that character. So that was a little bit of disbelief there.
As somebody that teaches college students who do thesis, none of them care that much that they would go through suicides and scary stuff. You know?
Right. Like, I was like,
They barely will take off work to do it. You know,
like,
It's so
you know how we always talk about like comic obsession? That's what came up in my
There's-
mind with that
yeah.
character. And I was like, but even then I didn't believe he was that obsessed and passionate about it. I needed something else. Like, you know what I mean? He just didn't, nothing
It
about
didn't
him
prove
made
it to you.
sense.
That's interesting. I
Nothing about him made sense.
and here we are. I'm defending the movie to you.
Right.
I'm-
Right.
So I think what I'm arriving
It's his intelligence that I have a problem with.
Mhm.
at because you
He's
believe.
he's pursuing intelligence,
And he's blinded,
also.
dude.
I know he's blind. I know comic obsession.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I get it.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which guy are you talking about? To Cheaty
guy-
or the
Cheaty.
main guy?
No, the guy from the Good
Cheaty.
Place.
Yeah,
Cheaty. Yeah, he's
Cheaty.
blind.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely. Yeah, we'll go into comic obsession.
Cheaty is
later.
obsessed. And well, wait, I mean, yeah.
I was trying not to call him by his
I-
other character name.
I
but
can't
whatever.
help it.
Hey, yeah, I don't actually
Cheaty.
remember his name in this movie.
The
Cheaty.
guy is Cheaty.
Cheaty.
Cheaty plays
He's great.
Cheaty.
He's
Oh my
great.
god, he's so
He's
good.
the best.
But I feel like it's a good segue to jump into the reality discussion.
Oh,
because
yeah,
you were
definitely.
talking
Just
about-
super quick, but I believe that's true. So the only thing I was going to get at with the goal thing is opening sequences. So the fact that this is such a slow burn, I think that's why they give you the that's great suicide sequence in the beginning. However, there was a part of me that suicide sequence is almost over the top,
Yeah,
like a lot.
yeah.
I'm glad it's in there because it gives you that sense of dread and horror,
Mhm.
and we know what's coming in the movie. It makes a promise to us.
it's
in
the
movie.
premise. Mhm.
Like this is how things are gonna
Yeah,
be.
because we don't
Right.
Yeah.
we probably don't. I didn't have my watch with me, but we probably don't get to like the suicide scene until probably the 70-minute mark
yeah,
or something.
and in the
Yeah.
movie it's
So-
probably 70 minutes. In
yeah.
the script, it's like 55
Yeah.
pages.
So it's good that we had this. The director's kind of and the writer is showing us this is who I am. I'm a madman. Anything could happen at any time. So be ready because I just showed you some of the craziest stuff you'll see all year. Now take a break. It's coming.
That's
And
the
then, yeah.
instructive. That's very instructive. And, and I think we've talked about this before. We've both done that in horror movies.
Absolutely.
Like you want to like show how much you're willing to like fuck with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the in the hands of a madman. And
yeah.
honestly, this guy might be the maddest of men I've seen lately.
Yes.
Like he is pretty much a madman. Like
Yeah.
the stuff he's showing us is crazier than anything I see.
You mean Ari Aster?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to think, what character are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
You mean the actual guy. Okay.
Like it's almost not the knock on Jordan Peele, but Jordan Peele does the same thing with a slow burn. He kind of
Yeah.
gives us these front scenes first.
Yep.
Sets it the table, says, "Calm down. I'm going to give you some of my Jordan Peele comedy stuff for a few
Yeah.
minutes."
I also
and
feel
then
like Jordan's working way more in a genre he really loves.
Yeah, it
Like
could
he
be.
loves the classic horror movies and everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This feels more like 70s and 60s, whereas Jordan Peele's kind of working
Contemporary.
from more contemporary
Yep.
means. Yeah.
But there are shocks and stuff that I'm getting from these movies, Hereditary as well, that are just very unique that I'm not getting from any
I
other.
agree. I love
so,
it.
So he's really bringing that part, like his imagery or whatever, his horror moments. Whereas Jordan Peele, and this isn't a knock on Jordan Peele, it's almost like the difference between going to Disney World and going to Universal Studios. Like
Yeah.
Universal Studios, when they have an explosion, it singes your eyebrows.
Yeah.
And you might have to sue them afterwards. Disney never. It's always the air conditioning, So
Right,
it's
right.
like,
There's a disconnect.
yeah, there's something really dangerous
Like
about
safe.
his movies. Yeah, there's a safety.
There's a safety net.
There's a safety there,
somehow.
and that's not a knock at all.
Not
it's
at
just
all.
a
I
different
agree with
style.
you.
If anything, that's what I liked about Hereditary.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
because when I first watched it, I was like, I don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
And that is awesome.
this had the same feeling, but I did know what was coming, which is the really odd part
Mhm.
of it.
Yeah.
Like it gives you the feeling that anything can happen, and then oh wait, the thing.
This thing
Yeah.
is
It just
gonna
did happen.
It's,
Oh, that
Yeah.
did happen. Oh, okay, right.
It was the exact thing I thought this movie was going to be about when I walked in.
But I
and
was pretty
saw
sure it wasn't going to happen, but it did. Wow, you subverted my subvertive
Mhm.
expectations.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So anyway, with
Eddie,
with
yeah,
that,
sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
No.
Were you saying something that
you were
we
going
interrupted
into the
3 times?
reality versus
So
kind of.
who was it? You who said it reminded you of Mother?
When I walked out, I said, and I don't know why it reminded me, but I said this movie's going to be received like Mother, and that
Okay.
there's going to be a certain
I
segment
think
of
it's
the
received
audience.
better than Mother.
Really?
Oh yeah, I think so too.
I was like, there's going to be
Yeah,
a certain segment of the
easily.
audience that loves it, and a certain that say it's the worst movie they've ever seen.
Well, that's
And-
true.
Yeah,
But
that's
Mother,
kind of
I think, was way more Mother is an oppressive experience.
Yeah,
Outside of the script, it's just the experience of watching Mother was oppressive.
and
Whereas
there's
this was like
Mhm.
almost pleasant until it wasn't. You know what I mean?
there's sort of this
It's pleasant to
Yeah,
look
it's
at and
very
everything.
pleasant.
you
there's
know.
sort of this weird spectrum where Mother is totally allegorical.
yeah,
and it's completely
Mother
leans
is
on the
three different movies
yeah,
in one.
Yes,
It's three different stories in one.
and the
right.
one it leans on the least is the tangible one,
right.
Right.
the real world one.
Artists, God, and then the actual thing.
The
in the
actual
house.
thing.
Yeah.
And this
Right.
one, I didn't see anything other than, I mean, I saw that it was playing with reality, and there's like a lot of examples of that. But first I want to say what he said. And then I heard him say that when he basically said that when he saw it for the first time completed together, he had a realization that he was telling a different story, which was that it's her like fever dream, wish fulfillment fantasy of all of them suffering. And so
like she.
he
like
says
sh-
that in the podcast.
Misery wants company type of thing.
Yeah, well, no, like he's basically saying like,
This is what she wants to do
this
to
is
all of
what
them. Or
they,
what
she wishes for that to happen. She gets to be the queen, and they get to suffer because of like their mistreatment of her, their
This-
lack of emotional. But when I watched it the second time after he said that, that's why I went back mainly because I was like,
Mhm.
oh shit.
Yeah, I missed that. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think but he's basically saying that wasn't his original intent, but then he's like looking at his own work and realizing sometimes we look at what we've done and we go, oh shit.
He finds
this
the
is-
theme later.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't like that
but
explanation.
I think
I don't
it's
buy it.
there.
I think it's sort of there, but I think it's weak.
I
Well,
think
explain
you
why.
could explain
Why you think it's there?
I think you could explain it with I think if that's the case, because he has done the Dorothy Oz parallel. He's said that publicly in many
Yeah.
interviews. And
Yeah.
you know, Dorothy is imagining all of it. It's all in her head.
Right. Poppies.
And so
Yeah.
I think that there is a moment where Dorothy steps out of the house, and that is she goes into the bathroom. And it's that great stylistic transition where you think she's going into the bathroom in the dorm room before they've gone on the trip, and it's instead a bathroom in a plane.
Right.
And if you watch the film thinking, okay, from here on in, it's like a fever dream, it's like a drug induced like wish fulfillment fantasy of a woman trying to deal with all of her, trauma, and it tracks. But I think it's better to just watch it for the real world, for the regular
That it
tangible.
actually did happen and stuff.
Exactly. But I
my,
think
my,
it's there.
my reason I don't like that from a script standpoint
Yeah.
specifically is because
Mhm.
I don't think she has enough screen time with the friends that it would matter.
Yeah, it does.
And there's not enough proof that she even knows what's going on with her boyfriend.
She
There's
doesn't.
just- it's just not on there.
Yeah.
It's not there.
I agree. It doesn't strike me that she has venom toward these people.
She doesn't know them.
Yeah, if anything,
Right.
she's kind of thinking we're the ones.
No,
the
and
audience.
I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't think the real world version portrays that at all.
Yeah, it's us, the audience, that is making judgments on them,
That's
not
what
her.
I'm saying. But
She's
like,
kinda
but I guess
perfect
what
in
he's
some
saying
ways.
is if
Well,
you step back
And
in
she
a
doesn't
dream,
know her boyfriend is like kind of not there,
Yeah,
and his friends are all dickbags.
yeah,
She has no concept of that.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. Her punishing them, like I think her punishing him is even a little bit questionable. But
right. I agree.
her friends, I was like, the mere quantity of interaction she has is not enough for me to go yes on that one.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, he said it wasn't his intent. He said he just saw.
He just saw it afterwards.
and he said he can't see it. He can't unsee.
Well then,
Yeah.
I don't need that. That seems like garbage to me. I'm like, whatever.
But
I don't know. If he's
there-
saying that, I don't.
There are.
Hey, he's got to fill minutes in a
there
podcast.
are like.
Right. As we do
But
as well.
I think that's enough talking about that. But I mean, people say what's happening 15 times. People go to sleep 13 times. I mean, there's constant balance between waking and dreaming, and
Yeah.
constant balance between like disorientation. Like you said, there's constant disorientation from the character's experience. Like, is this real? Like, what is happening? You know, so I definitely think you could argue that it's there, but I don't like it. I'm with you.
I know since we'll move on from this very quickly.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about stuff that might be there that isn't, I liked some people had like wondered if the cult, or that's not he doesn't like calling it a cult. The Swedish society, if they actually orchestrated the things at the beginning. Because what was the name of the Swedish guy again? His name, I forget his name. The character. Pronounce it, Jamie. Pronounce it.
I don't. Oh, Pele.
Pele.
Yeah,
Yes.
Pele.
So
I thought you were talking about his brother. I don't know his brother's name.
I have only seen it once, but when I watch it again, the main thing I want to watch for is any clues.
Gotcha.
As to if Pele had anything to do with.
There's a shot of a picture of a girl in the background of, and it might be, Danny. There's in the background of the parents' death scene when we first see them. There's a shot in the background of Danny in a frame with flowers around her. There is that, but that's it. That's all.
it.
That's all. And so I've for comparison, I've seen it twice and I read the script, and I didn't skim the script. I read it.
Right.
So
I don't want to talk about a fan theory here, but
I only commented on the reality thing because he said it. I would
the
have
only
never
reason
even.
I bring that up is because script-wise, it would make a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
Like to just because like they need a new
the
queen,
suicide is the trigger
catalyst
to get her there.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
from a screenwriting standpoint, I can see how that could make sense.
Yeah. But I don't
is
think
that there.
it's-
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only mentioned the reality thing because he did, and I was like, well, if he's saying it, if the director's saying it, like, let me see what the fuck he's talking about.
Right.
You mean the fairy tale aspect?
The fairy tale.
Yeah.
aspect, yeah.
Because I do think there's some it's a light touch again on the spectrum of surrealism, and I think it's more like it feels like you're constantly 5 beers in this movie.
But
Yeah.
isn't that the theme of the movie too with the drugs?
Yeah, I think
Which
so.
we don't
Yeah.
even know what the drugs are or do.
Yeah.
The whole time.
I mean, they open you up. That's
I know, but it's not like they never tell us what specifically they are.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. They don't tell us, so we don't know the effects. So we
Right.
just have to go
You
with
just go with it
as the
with what
character's
it's
taking
showing
them.
you. Yeah,
we just take what it gives us.
But I think the whole movie, while they're in that section of the movie, when they're actually in Sweden, feels like we're drugged a little bit.
Yeah.
We even like you say,
Agreed.
none of the characters are really human. Everything seems a little weird.
Yeah.
Everything's a little too bright. We're liking things too much because actually when I kind of watched it, there was another part of my brain thinking I would hate this vacation. This would be the worst. Sleep in a wood bed, don't get any sleep, watch these boring people, eat this weird food. I don't want it.
The whole time I was like, man, I'd be so bored here. And then they were like, you want to watch Austin Powers? And I was like, finally, something to fucking do.
Yeah, exactly. but they're like as young, fun people. They love it. They're like, let's go. Oh,
God,
hot
man.
chicks and beer and mushrooms or something. And it really isn't that. It's something else. So, but
It also makes you like, couldn't you guys get drugs at home?
yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
It's sunny at home too. I don't know. Yeah.
It just feels
It
like
feels
we're
like that,
we're
yeah.
a little drugged up and we're there, and so we're relaxed and we're watching it. And even when the creepy stuff happens, it's not quite as creepy to them. Like they don't have the normal reactions.
Yeah.
And I think all of it just feels like a little drug induced. Like we're few in, not enough
Like
to
I
not
said,
know what's going on.
In a hackier script,
Yeah.
you would have flashbacked at the end and seen like Pele like putting like stuff in their drinks whenever they're deciding and making decisions. Like
no,
he,
I
like-
love that. That's not.
I know that's
there.
not in there, but like what Jamie's saying is like the fact that they even went is odd. Like him.
Well, the anthropology thing.
I know the
I think it explains it.
It explains
and
it.
I
It
like it.
does.
I keep defending the movie more than Bob.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's funny.
And I
didn't
really liked it.
I didn't
so.
expect that.
Yeah, yeah, Mister. I hate it.
You
You turn on current corner hard.
I
dude.
did.
Yeah,
I did. Well, that's because I spent a lot of time with it.
it's true. You spend a lot of time with
I
a
don't
lot
like-
of movies, though.
I don't like being grief. I don't like experiencing grief on screen. This movie was like that scene in Mystic River where Sean Penn finds out, is that my daughter over there? That's what I think when I think like cinematic grief captured. There's like 10 scenes like that in this movie. I don't want to go to movies to watch somebody
Right.
just moan and cry like and experience like the extremes of emotions. That's not why I go to the movies.
If it had a happy ending,
So
though.
when I walked out the first time, that was what I was clinging to. I couldn't get past that to appreciate the artistry.
just
And it's also as a action of grief, unlike Hereditary. I look at Hereditary kind of like from a Stanley Kubrick thing, where Stanley Kubrick viewed The Shining as a positive movie because it means that there's an afterlife. Whereas Hereditary, it's like, oh, there is something else. Whereas this movie, to me, it feels even darker with the grief because it's like, oh, there's nothing supernatural.
No, not at all.
Like it's such a downer ending in that it's just people killing people.
I can't wait to talk about this more. Let's keep going.
Yeah,
we'll get to the
guts.
downer
Yeah,
ending.
yeah.
and just jumping to theme a little bit.
Yeah, I want to
'cause
jump to
I'm
theme.
not exactly sure the theme, but part of what we just said is part of why I'm wrestling with the theme a bit, and why I say the beginning, while I love it and I think it's necessary, is a bit of an overreaction. Is this a grief movie or is this a breakup movie? And I think if you think that your parents and your sister murdered and killed herself, that almost overshadows any breakup aspect of the movie. Like, to me, that's like a 10 on the Richter scale, where
Gotcha.
Especially for a relationship that was obviously not okay.
that's right.
It wasn't like a precious one to either of them, really.
This lame relationship is like, the breakup of that is like a 2. So to me, is it a grief or is it a breakup? It feels like it wants to be a breakup movie. But
Jamie,
the
I
grief
think
needs to
it's
get in.
literally those. I think it's both.
Mhm.
And the first part is the grief movie, and then it just switches.
I agree.
She gets away from the grief.
It-
She leaves the grief home.
There's a
That's what you do when you
Yeah.
grieve. You leave what it is, and then you
The-
go somewhere else for a while.
There's a part of me that thinks too it's just a reason to make the guy seem more douchey, because and get him trapped in the relationship as well to seem less douchey. Like otherwise he would have broken up with her. But after that happened, he's trapped. This
This
a trap
movie's
to it.
also incredibly funny,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It
which is really odd to how funny it is.
Mhm.
But like that whole situation, that I was like, that was straight out of Larry David. That's like
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like,
No, you're right.
he's
you're
like,
right.
I could see the guy being like, I want to break up with her. He's like, but her whole family just killed themselves. He's like, well, you got to give it at least a month.
Yeah, right.
You can't just do it right after all
You're
that.
right.
You know what
You're
I mean?
absolutely
It's
right.
like I could see Larry David being like,
Yeah.
and now I got to take her to Sweden. Like it's that total
Gotcha.
situation.
I would love
Yeah.
to see Larry David in this movie. Now
Oh my
that you say
gosh.
it, just rewrite this movie as a
Put
Curb
Larry David in that
season.
camp and him just being like, oh, so this,
Suicide.
It'll be a
say
whole
suicide,
different
huh?
movie.
So like, yeah, well,
No, I don't want to.
Pretty good.
that's not what we're talking about. But it's
No, I have.
That's
you
a
get what I'm
different-
saying though. Like him talking to his friends, I was like, they're all talking about like what I'm locked in now. I'm
Yeah.
socially responsible to deal with this.
Yeah.
Because you can't break up with someone after that happens.
Yeah.
He's not a monster.
Right.
Which goes a lot to
But
say to the
but
character
I actually think
and the
that
ending.
This movie is saying that he is,
which
for-
is a
for
problem
choosing-
for a lot of people.
for choosing. And I don't. So full disclosure, and I think this will tap into why
Yes.
I hated it.
right.
I have been I connected with this movie most, and why I'm able to tap into what the theme is very easily is because I have been Danny,
Mm-hmm.
and I have also been Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I was in
Haven't we all? Right.
Yeah, and I was in a relationship with a woman who was very much like Danny. I mean, I'm gonna come like an asshole here, but like this movie made me realize again that I was emotionally immature, and she was suicidal, and I couldn't handle it. But I felt guilty, and I felt shameful for not being able to give her what she needed from me. But I also didn't want to leave her because I felt like I would be a monster, right? But what this movie I think is saying is
We know why he took a psychologist.
what I think this movie is saying. Oh my god! But what I think this movie, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to end that with a joke,
yeah,
too.
dude.
But it's
It was
I
not.
couldn't.
It was not a funny situation at all.
I'm sorry, man.
But
I'm sorry.
But I admit guilt here. Like
Mhm,
what this movie is saying is it is a monstrous thing to do to feign emotional availability.
Yes,
it is
sure.
a villainous and antagonistic thing to do, to tell somebody, I'm here for you. I will give you everything you need to help you through this experience, when you're not willing to do that, when you're emotionally closed. And I think that's what this movie is about. This movie is about,
No, I agree.
I think
Yeah.
this movie is about inauthentic love and authentic love. And I think it's about two things. And I think it's based on the goals. And I think it's about emotional availability and
Mhm.
emotion, and not being emotionally available. And I think every single aspect from start to finish is an exploration of those things.
Right.
And when we meet the friends, when we meet them talking on the phone, he's like gaslighting her. He's like, you always do this. She always does this. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's gonna be fine. Like, nothing's gonna happen. He's closed off, and he's like apathetic to all of her emotional problems. And then the argument that Danny has, the thematic conversation, I think is, so I think it's authentic love versus inauthentic love, and emotional avoidance versus emotional embrace.
That's the theme.
Those are the themes I see.
Okay.
And the cell phone conversation she has with her friend after talking to her boyfriend Christian, who's kind of like, don't worry about it. Like, she's not gonna, nothing's wrong.
Pipe down.
Yeah, pipe down, right?
Forget about it.
He's refusing to hear her and be emotionally available. That's what he's doing. And then Danny says to her friend, what if I went too far? What if I leaned too heavily? And her girlfriend says, you didn't. He should be there when you need him. And Danny says, but he never asked for anything from me. And I've never even seen him cry.
Well,
I'm the one who's leaning.
My question
Yeah.
of what you're saying right now is, and this is sidestepping the fact that I think the movie is about fairy tale logic. I don't think it's reality logic.
Gotcha.
But you're also acting like Christian is a smart, well thought out, analytical person, and I don't agree that he is.
No, I don't think so either.
You know what I mean? Like,
but he's just human.
It's the conversation.
He's immature. He's emotionally immature.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know we haven't gotten to, like, you know, the ending and all that and such, but like, I think when it comes to the fate of the characters, I think that's where, like, the divisive nature of the movie comes in, because with fairy tale logic, I get what it's saying about Christian. Like, it's a fairy tale about breaking up, so he is going to suffer the consequences.
Gotcha.
But if you just take it at face value, on the face, like, just the logic of it,
yeah,
I don't think his character or the other characters deserve what they get.
I'm not.
I know you're not saying
with
that.
You,
I'm not. No, and I'm not
saying that's what this movie is.
That's
saying.
what the movie is saying. But I've also I agree with you there, and I think it's saying that with a fairy tale logic, which
that's what I mean,
which makes it okay. But if you take
I
away
agree
the
with
fairy
that.
tale logic, I'm like, it's that I will be like, fuck this movie, like, because it's like, what do you? That guy's just an idiot.
That's
you know, he's not a
well
bad
put. The fairy tale logic.
Yeah.
It absolves that they deserve to die. It's not like we're saying we're using cinematic deserve to die.
Well,
deserve
this is the stuff I was thinking about when I was trying to figure theme, because I was like, his death is the biggest part of the theme of the movie.
And we can go into that later. I'm going to use exactly what he wrote because I think it's up for interpretation, but on the script, it's not at all. It's very clear.
Okay.
So that goes. So the last part of the telephone conversation, the girlfriend, Danny says, but he never, because I think this is the thematic argument. Eric, I think it's 5 pages in. It's classic. It's right there.
Okay.
It's not in a classroom, which Hereditary was.
My thesis states.
Yeah. Danny says, he never asked for anything from me. I've never even seen him cry. Emotionally unavailable. So I'm the only one leaning. And the girlfriend says, no, you're the only one opening up. You're the only one making yourself vulnerable. That's what intimacy is. That to me is the whole movie.
Yeah.
That it's the people who she's surrounded with are emotionally unavailable to her. They're disinterested in allowing her to express her emotions. And she's equally scared to express her emotions to them because they're such a broken family.
Right.
So, but this goes right into the goals, which this is another, we're like 3 movies in a row, like with these wrong way goals, which are like what pops up in indie movies, you know? So we've talked about wrong way goals before. Like, they seem to only show up, mainly show up in the indie movies.
And Toy Story movies.
We saw it in Toy Story, which is so surprising.
It's a great double feature, Toy Story 4 and Midsommar.
But for anyone, because I feel like we need to revisit some of these stuff and what they mean.
No, definitely.
Like for anyone who's listening, like a lot of times in an indie movie, you won't have these like, we have to race and get to the clock tower, like to save time.
That's a right way goal.
That's a tangible physical, like a story goal.
Return the ring to Mount Doom.
Exactly.
That's
This one,
Right.
this one, I think has a physical wrong way goal and an external and an internal. And you touched on it before, Jamie. The external wrong way goal is the purpose of the trip. I mean, the log line is that they're going on a trip to save their relationship, right? Like Danny joins Christian's. Danny, sorry.
Danny is going on the trip.
Yeah, to be clear. Yeah,
Yes.
Danny's exactly. And that's her goal. Her external goal is to save the relationship. But it's not a relationship worth saving.
I don't know if it
Keep going.
no,
Dude, say your...
because no, I'm trying to think of how to say it. I kind of agree with that, but like it feels two parts where she's, like I said to Jamie before, she's running too. I mean, the movie makes it pretty clear avoidance is a huge factor.
Avoidance is a huge factor
in
Yeah,
this. Like, I wouldn't say she's like, I got to fix things with Christian. You know, it's none of that. Like, it's sort of there, but she's getting away. I feel like that's more the impetus, and that's more the motivation of her leaving.
Avoidance.
I think avoidance is stronger than her
the outer goal.
I don't feel like her
home things that are home.
Do you think I'm crazy? I don't think
No,
her
I don't think
repairing her
that's-
relationship with Kristen.
I think because this is more of an indie kind of movie, it's messy. It's
It is
a
messy.
little bit of all the.
But I really
above.
feel confident in saying that I don't think her main concern was repairing her relationship with Christian.
Yeah.
But I
You really think that?
not main concern, but I do think the movie goes to great lengths to show her continuing to make actions, clinging on. He tells her happy birthday in that lame ass way with the cake, which is like to add insult to
Because she
injury.
wants family.
And
That's one thing we haven't said.
But
Yeah.
no, but
Right.
But then after that scene, she picks him a bouquet of flowers. So she's still trying to get him to like her, even after he forgets her birthday and then like gives her this lame ass birthday singing. The next scene, she picks him a bouquet of flowers and he gives it to her, and he's like, "Would you pick these backwards?"
Right.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying though. You're saying it was bigger than that.
I mean, their relationship to me almost even seemed brotherly and sisterly more than it did.
I think that's intentional.
That's
There's
definitely
no
intentional.
intimacy. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I don't feel like her main concern was intimacy. In general.
Yeah.
He was the last person left.
Yeah.
That she had.
That's it.
It wasn't about her repairing. When you said repairing a relationship, that's the only reason I was like,
I didn't mean to say repair.
Oh.
Did I say repair? Or did you say repair on top
No,
of it?
yeah, you did.
I said save. Preserve.
still.
Preserve. I didn't say repair.
Either way.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. But I think the internal is exactly what you're just saying, which is it's also an internal wrong way goal, which is she is like hiding her emotions. She's refusing to accept and feel her emotions in the service of keeping the people around her happy who don't fucking care about her
At all, yeah.
And that is the other wrong way. That's the internal wrong way goal. That's the lesson to me. Is it? I think because Woody had two. I was like, this is like weird that I keep going back to Toy Story with this. Woody had two lessons, two wrong way goal lessons. He had like an outward. He needs to stop trying to get back to the bus, and he had an internal. Like he needs to.
Right.
I think she has two lessons, and that is stop trying. And I think this is what the movie is saying: stop trying to gain affection from people who are emotionally unavailable to you. We all do that. And that's the main problem with everybody, all the main characters in this movie. Like, they're trying to connect with people who are, like, not willing to connect with them. They don't care about them.
Jumping to it, because it's where that goes, do you think she has an arc? Do you think her
yeah, I mean,
killing them in the end, what is that? What is that arc?
to me, it's that she found a family,
Mm-hmm.
and she understands what Jimmy just said. There's a really popular internet article about relationships that has been flowing around for like 5 years. It's called it's about how you should never date anyone that's not fuck yeah about you. Have you ever seen that?
No.
That's great.
For some reason, and because of the dating arc in this movie, that came up in my mind.
That's great.
But it came up for the fact that like she found a bunch of people, because her current circle was her shitty boyfriend and his shitty friends who don't care at all.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, through this course of this 2 hour some movie, we watch her actually find a bunch of people who are totally fuck yeah about
Yeah.
her.
No,
You know what I
that's
mean?
Perfectly
And she,
put.
like, they're not just accepting of her. Like,
yeah.
dude, they're putting her in like a position of power. We love you that much. We are your people.
Yeah.
You just found everything you need right here.
Yeah.
And outside of the moral ambiguity of all of that,
Yeah.
she's like, hell yeah. She
Yeah.
takes it. And her arc is saying yes to it. I think she
Yeah.
would never have said yes in other circumstances.
What do you think, Jamie?
What do you think, Jamie? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Like,
It's hard. It's not concrete.
I agree
Yeah.
with what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
that is the arc. That's the
Right.
difference. She is different in the end because now she has a family, and whatever that support is, she's willing to even kill her old boyfriend and leave the past behind to be with the new
I
family.
mean, kill a bunch of people,
That's-
actually. So
That's
yeah.
obviously a change
Yeah.
from how she was in the beginning, where she was just begging this one guy to kind of take her to Sweden or whatever. So that's definitely a change. I'm more trying to feel out the arc beats. Like, where does she learn that? Like, what is?
Yeah.
It's kind of a sudden arc change. Like, I'm not sure if it's a slow. Like, I don't see the moments of discovery. And the one part. And by the way, this is
If there was a change moment,
Mm-hmm.
I think for her, and I'm just throwing this out there, it's the breathing scene.
I think
This-
there's lots of change.
There's lots of change moments, but that
Um,
scene to me felt like she understood now that she's in something. You know, the scene where they're all collectively breathing with her.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Well,
screaming.
they're crying with her.
Yeah,
They're
but I'm
grieving
saying
with her.
she was becoming part of the Legion.
Yeah, she's,
You know,
and that to me is one of those sudden page 75 changes.
Gotcha.
As
You're
opposed
saying
to
it's
the-
an unearned because
Well,
they didn't do enough.
It's not even that it's unearned. Some people do learn, in a moment. They just change their minds
Yeah.
or get
Yeah.
I'm going to go this way instead.
Yeah.
But
Right.
Movies tend to have the thing, so I'm trying to.
like
and
a
it's
baby
not,
steps type of deal.
Yeah, it's not even me saying that that's bad or good. I'm just trying to wrap my head around. Was there a sudden gradual to this, or really was it
Kind of
she was
started
the
when she
same?
started doing drugs right away.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, she has a freak out.
Mhm.
And that's like her mind already reprogramming herself to accept
Right.
Yeah.
things. So the drugs really just kind of glaze over any problems you could have.
I think they're like an expression of the. So
I'm not insulting them.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying like all the
I think
arguments are like.
there's a reason for them.
Remember, everyone is high as hell. Like
That's
you
true.
know, I mean,
and
that's the thing.
that is a reason why they're acting weird.
Yeah.
I think her arc is very clear. I think I look for the stasis equals death, and the stasis is she's not feeling her emotions. She's avoiding her emotions, and I think it's as simple as emotional avoidance to emotional embrace. And she starts the film expressing guilt and shame for her grief. She's saying to her friend, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be acting this way. I shouldn't be feeling this way.
Right.
And anytime a situation comes up where she has feelings, she runs. The Pele is like offers her emotional support. He's like, he's the first person in the movie. And he sits down with her and he's like, I'm so sorry to hear. He like opens himself up and it's like genuine. He's like, I'm so sorry to hear about your family. And she immediately runs away and cries on her own. And at every moment, those tracking points are she continues to do that and she grows closer and closer. There's multiple scenes where she runs because like when she sees the suicide, which is a great unhappy occasion slam, which I don't talk about those enough. There's a lot of those in this movie. She runs again because she's like, I have feelings. I can't show them to anyone. And she runs by herself and she, but this time, like there's more of a delay. She's looking around at everybody emoting. And like, there's like, you can see that she's considering emoting in front of everybody too. There's these moments where she's having grief and having feelings. And over the course of the story, she it becomes more and more willing to express emotion and to feel emotion. And then when she finally sees her worst fear realized, which is Christian is having sex with another girl because he doesn't care about her. He's fucking emotionally
As far as
unavailable.
her perception is that he's having sex with another girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
He's being raped.
Yeah. That's, no, but I'm saying
but
like,
she doesn't know
her
that. Yeah, right.
perception
Her
is,
perception is right. Yeah.
And so what does she do? She goes back and she tries to run away and she tries to just deal with it on her. But there the family is, and they are emotionally available to her. They
Mhm.
are giving themselves fully, and they're like mourning with her as like one, like as a family unit, which is like exactly the opposite of what the friends are willing to do when we see them. I mean, those two scenes are like so perfectly constructed to me. The friends who are like, they don't want to talk to her, they don't want her around, and they definitely don't want her to express grief in front of them.
That's something interesting about this movie, and I think you're doing a great job of breaking down the learning lessons. I don't feel those things. I am seeing those things. So when, just like you said, he's raped, he's not cheating. So I'm not feeling I'm seeing what she's feeling, but I don't feel what she's feeling. And that's a choice.
I don't think I think it's very telling. It's a great, if there's anything he does good, Ari Aster, is that he can make scenes in movies that really tell you who the viewer is. Because if you watch that, like in the end, I don't
subjective.
Watching people argue this movie, seeing the people that are on, they like pick sides. Like, did Christian deserve it? Was Danny right? All this stuff. It's like it kind of shows you who you are and how you feel about it. You know what I mean? Like you just said, Jamie. Like on the surface, you're watching a man get raped, and then I know that. Right. And I have to decide how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Because I know that on the surface, that's what's happening.
I don't think a lot of women would
I don't
feel
think
that
either
way at all.
But that says a lot about us as humans, right? I mean, like, that's like, it's a really, like, good, like, almost philosophical question of what do you see happening right now?
Yeah.
Because that's what I took from it. And you're like you said, I think a lot of people would take something different. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that's kind of good art.
But like,
you know what I mean?
Everybody.
Like, whether he was, we'll back off rape. But to me,
he was drugged.
He was drugged
heavily.
But to
and
me,
he chose to have sex with her.
But to me, I didn't. Feel,
no, he was drugged way too heavily.
I didn't see like that was like
getting into heavy shit.
They gave him like the super drug. Remember?
I know.
So it's rape.
And my interpretation was that he wasn't like dying to have sex with this girl. Like it wouldn't have happened unless he was drugged and the group and all the women
they pushed
and the weird
him
stuff
into her.
They lured.
I mean,
her.
they're pushing her in.
So it wasn't it. And if they wanted me to feel that scene, it would be like, hey, I'm going to sneak off with the redhead, and we're going to go back.
Right.
If they wanted me to feel, that's how I would.
Which I think they did with the other guy.
They did.
Oh, totally. They make
Yeah.
an example out of him.
Like first chance he gets, he's going to sneak away. So I didn't feel that. But even let's put a pin in that one. The other part I didn't feel, and again, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying this is why I'm wrestling with what's the theme, because I'm not sure. I'm not feeling the theme. I'm more observing it. But the other spot was the maypole dance. I don't know what I'm supposed to like. I assume I'm supposed to feel like she's done this great achievement.
I don't think that's there at all.
But to me, it's just this weird, dizzying, kind of crazy thing.
Also, I'm assuming it was fixed, right?
I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
I didn't assume
if
that.
it wasn't, okay.
I
think she earned it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's fate or whatever
I assume
else.
fixed from moment one.
I don't think so. And I it's funny. I agree with you. I don't think that scene has any like symbolic significance whatsoever. I think it's just there.
But what's she feeling? Isn't she feeling like it's some great
there
important
is a
thing?
scene,
Like
there is like an exclamation point to it, and that is another one of those moments of realization, where it's so awesome. The whole community rallies around her and picks her up in a throne, and staring across from her is Christian alone. Terrified, right? And so it's like this moment of like sudden elation, and like these people love me, these people want to nurture me, these people want to be emotionally available. This guy doesn't care. He's also on drugs at that point, but like this is the guy who doesn't
it really
care.
needs to be stated how much drugs everybody's on. Right.
But yeah,
that's a really interesting thing, Jamie. The whole what are you feeling?
Yeah,
and what are you observing?
I never really thought
feeling
about
versus
it that way.
Observing is really interesting.
Is it like what their intent is versus what their...
And let me ask you this: do you think that's something that's on the page, or you think that's because that could be really manipulated by the filmmaking too?
I would suspect when I came away from it, not having thought too much about it, but I think Kubrick might do that to me sometimes too. Like I'm not really feeling what the character is.
You're observing
observing it.
That's so
So
interesting.
I think as a choice, but it makes me struggle with the specific themes because I'm seeing what she's getting out of it, but I'm not sure that's what I'm supposed to be getting. You know what I mean? Like
so interesting.
so I'm a little
You know what?
disassociated.
If I could offer maybe some theory on this, like,
Yeah.
I do like this movie, and I think I don't know even where I stand on it yet. Even, you know,
Right.
and that's because I don't really identify with that. Like what Jimmy said earlier. Yeah, I've been in the breakup situation, all that, but outside of that, I don't really like or identify with any of the characters. So
Gotcha.
I'm not like rooting for anything necessarily to happen. Like Christian dying, I could argue like the ethics of that all day, but in the end, I don't care that he died.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
I
So
gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? I'm observing it
Because you didn't connect with Danny.
I don't connect
personally.
with Danny. I don't connect with Danny, even though I have a ton of grief in my life. I don't connect with her, and I don't connect with Christian. So in the end, I don't care who gets it. In the end,
You know,
does that make sense? I'm just observing it, and then I'm studying it from an ethical or moral perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, I wish he lived. You know, like
Yeah.
there's none of that. You know,
I'll come at it from, and again, this is even a weirder way to.
it's like a psychology
I love
episode,
it.
man.
That's why I took a psychiatrist with me.
Right.
Tony's listening.
Maybe he should have been in on the episode.
First of all, there's something about that her that blows me away on screen. Like I haven't seen her before.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
tune to
No,
take away
No,
from
I
their
know you're not.
performances.
No, I got
no. Yeah.
So while everything you say is true, I just couldn't. She's like one of those people that, like, when she comes on screen, I'm like, wow, what is it that's special about? Like, I can't figure it out. It's like there's some magic about her that I think she'll be huge and everything, and that's no surprise
You mean as a star?
as a star.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
But everything
Absolutely.
you say is absolutely true. But sometimes you just cast the person. It's like, oh, I have empathy for them because I'm amazed by them. I don't know what this magic.
Right.
thing
Oh, as an
they're doing.
actress, I couldn't take my
Yeah,
eyes
I was
off.
like, wow, this
But
is an amazing.
That's
person.
different than what I'm saying.
I
Yeah.
absolutely hear you.
Yeah.
But in some ways, just talking about it, I almost wonder, you could see this movie being more Christian's movie, where it's his turn to arc. He does an arc, so the tragedy befalls him.
And I think they both
Yeah.
have the same wrong way goal.
Yeah.
I really do. And
What's
I
Christian's
agree.
again?
Huh?
What's Christian's wrong way goal?
He's also making choices for a relationship that is not healthy for him.
Right, he should be out of it.
And
It's almost like he doesn't want to be
I'm
the
not
bad guy,
arguing-
and that's making him the bad guy.
I'm not arguing.
Yes.
Yes.
No, yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And I'm not arguing
Which is the
that-
same with the actual tribe. What do we call this? Community. He doesn't want to actually like stand up to what's happening. He just
Mhm.
lets it all happen.
Right.
Because he should have been.
That's your fake wokeness. It's kind of like
He's
he
totally
doesn't
fake
want to be the bad
wokeness.
guy. He wants to
Absolutely.
be understanding.
I don't want to sound
Absolutely.
like a masculine dude, but at some point you should have been like,
yeah.
like this shit ain't happening
Yeah.
anymore. Okay.
It's his fault.
Like he should have lit some of those huts on fire and punched some of those people and get the hell out of there.
That would
Like,
be the
this should have
Larry
turned
David.
into a Rambo movie, you know? Yeah, don't Larry David it. Where he's like, okay, well, I'm drinking this stuff now. All right, is that what we do?
No, I'm not defending like what he does in the movie. I'm just saying I think the movie places him with the same wrong way goal.
Mhm.
Like he needs to learn
Right.
a lesson too, and he doesn't.
They're so inert. That is what makes it so analytical. You want to analyze everything they do because it's such a light touch.
Yeah,
They don't do
I love
anything.
I love it.
They like, you know what I mean? They're not reactive characters.
And
They're
they
just
are,
like,
in a lot of the deleted scenes they are, so it's very interesting. that
Right,
they cut
that's a
those.
very-
I really like that they cut those.
that's really interesting.
just as a kind of something else, is a lot of the problems I had with Hereditary were this thing we're talking about, I think, because I didn't really see the point, like the clear goal.
I
and I really
remember
wrestled
that from
with
you.
it.
Yeah,
And then it threw me the horror thing in the end that didn't feel like the point, but it was cool and I liked it. So I really had a hard time figuring it all out.
I think what
Gotcha.
like something you could say about Hereditary, which we did on our episode, is that it just kind of happens to them.
Yeah.
yeah.
It just happens. The whole thing just
Yeah.
happens. That's what
Yeah.
you didn't like about it. That's what I kind of liked about it. But
This one, I believe the choices though.
Yeah, that's the thing.
no,
So for
that's
me,
the difference here.
The
is that-
difference
yeah,
for me
is
between
that.
the two is I never to this day, giving it as much shot as I could, believe the choices that the characters make in Hereditary. Here, because oddly enough, because they cut out those deleted scenes
Mhm.
where they're debating the threats and they're debating escaping and they're treating all of the situations like a normal human would, those
Right.
things are in the script and they cut them out. oddly enough, that makes me believe the choices that the characters are making because they're shown to be so apathetic to all the shit that's happening. But I also think that's thematic. I the first time around, I was like, I don't understand why they're acting this way. Second time around, I really think it's saying they care so little about each other. They are so fucking emotionally unavailable to each other.
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
That when something bad happens or they go missing, they're not concerned. They don't even
Also,
care.
it kind of speaks to the fake wokeness thing.
Mhm.
They're
That's
so
what I'm saying.
apathetic.
They're
They
s-
only performatively woke when it matters
to them.
and then when it actually there, they're like, oh well, they're killing people, but that's their way, and I
Yeah.
want to look good.
Yeah.
You know, like they're just.
I think the movie, like,
the apathy is
yeah, dude.
Maybe
It's-
that's the
it's
thing, is
emotional.
apathy.
I mean, I'm generalizing it to emotional unavailability. They're closed off. They don't feel.
But the apathy, you're right, man. That's the word for this movie. Is like I felt that more than anything.
See,
Because you're just the whole time you're screaming. Is anyone gonna
yeah.
say
But they
or
don't
do?
care.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because the whole time I'm like, I would be the guy there, like, well, why do you do this? What are we doing? You know, why would you do this? You know, just like no
Yeah.
one says anything.
Right.
They ask what happened.
And I
what's
actually
happening,
think
get
if
no
you
answers.
kept those scenes that he wrote, it would be a worse movie, and I wouldn't believe the choices.
I'm actually sad that there's a director's cut now. I don't want that stuff
that
to be
stuff.
in there
Yeah.
because
Um.
I don't want those answers.
It might not be that too.
It could be
they
other
might,
stuff
but
they
Well,
shot.
there's
Yeah.
some gore and shit that they
Yeah.
that they cut.
Austin Powers hut. I want to see that Austin Powers TV.
There's some
More-
really weird stuff they cut. We're gonna
Really?
get to that.
Okay.
Oh my
more,
god.
more mallets to the face.
It's all mallet.
But I do
scenes.
think. I mean, I'm just gonna go get
Yeah,
it out
go
of my
for it.
head.
Go for it.
I think that that there's so much thematic work on display, and it's all constructed. It's all intentional. So if my thesis is that it's emotional availability and emotional unavailability and inauthentic love and authentic love, like I love you. Like there's even that line he says in the beginning of the movie. He says I'm sorry, and she's like, you're not sorry. You say sorry, but what you mean is too bad. Like that's like saying that's inauthentic love. Like
Yeah.
you don't love me. You're just saying you love me.
Mhm.
So we've got how do the characters express the theme? Well, the friends are a broken family who doesn't love each other and is emotionally unavailable.
yeah.
He even says the guy Mark, the guy who is the least interested in having a relationship with anybody in the movie, Mark, the hornball, he's like,
Yeah.
you guys are my family. You're like my real family. And I think that was
Right,
intentional.
yeah.
They have this guy who like he totally
Well,
does.
they're also kind of the antithesis to the actual like community.
That's
Mhm.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then you've got the family in contrast that they throw them in a situation where everyone
Cares
cares
so much.
Mhm.
about everyone.
They'd actually kill themselves to be part of the family, the part of the
Exactly.
cycle. Like that's how much they love each other.
They're so
Whereas
committed
these
to
people
each
are
other.
so apathetic.
I'm gonna give my life
Right.
as a gesture so that the next baby born can have my soul.
Right.
Like that's in there.
right.
It couldn't be more contrast. And then Christian is.
Did you guys find? Can I just
Yeah,
interrupt?
dude.
Did you guys find the? This isn't so much
I
of a
love when
script thing.
Bob just starts laughing
'Cause
before he
I can
talks.
think of shit.
He doesn't
Wait.
say it. He just laughs.
The funniest part of this movie to me is when the two guys who are still alive are on fire in the hut at the end.
Mhm.
When they start screaming, I'm like, that is
Yeah.
hilarious because that's like the moment where they're like, wait,
Oh,
fuck the
shit.
cycle.
Yeah.
I don't believe in
No,
it anymore.
I know.
You know?
I know.
I was like, dude, this is hilarious. I'm sorry.
No, they said like the setup payoff of take the
Right.
the sap of the
Yeah.
U and feel no pain, and then like 20 seconds later they're like,
Yeah, right. You can see in their eyes, they're like, no, we don't
I
believe in
feel
it anymore.
pain.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
It's so good.
that's
Anyway,
so-
okay.
I can only imagine being in this movie with Bob and hearing him laugh. Like there are probably a bunch of people that
I
were
was
disturbed.
pretty silent.
Disturbed.
I was actually
I-
really silent. But
I mean,
like
it's
in
really
my mind,
disturbing, but
it was disturbing. But I was like, this is funny as hell. Like those guys just screaming. It got me so good. I was like surprised at how funny it was.
yeah,
Hereditary's not funny.
no, it's not, and it's
This-
not trying to be.
It's
funny.
not trying. But this movie was like really damn
Yeah,
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, which really helps me like it. Anyway, sorry, Jimmy. I didn't mean-
I'm just.
I wanted.
unloading
I didn't
it.
want to
This
forget
stuff-
that.
No,
I just wanted to say
it's
it.
so true, though. I agree with you.
Because it
I
informs.
didn't laugh. I laughed. I thought it was funny,
But
but
I think
I
it
hated that I was laughing at it. I
but
was
I
like,
think
I'm
it
fucked up.
informs. It also informs the humanity of the people there. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're so into it, they would let that happen, and in that moment, we got to actually see
it shows you how committed they are. Yeah,
But we got to actually see when they weren't committed for that 1 second before they died.
Yeah.
They were like those guys would have totally forsook the entire thing.
Ran
That
away.
Once that
Yeah.
fire hit, they're just like they would have
Yeah.
killed all the rest of them just to have
Wonder if
stopped,
that's
you know.
Yeah.
I just thought that
There-
was
yeah,
more
that's
of a
very
that's not a
interesting.
theme or anything. It's just
Yeah.
I love that part. Go ahead.
Shit. No, it's just
Yeah.
Christian is emotionally available. Like we talked about, he's emotionally unavailable to Danny and his friends. He leeches off his friends. He steals his thesis. Like he's like, I'm gonna be doing it, and he's disloyal. He says, Josh is not my friend. I'm not friends with. I don't call that guy. Like
Right.
what? Like at every turn, he's showing that he's like emotionally unavailable to everyone around him, and he's giving inauthentic love. I mean, they go there because they're best buds, and then his best bud does something bad. He's like, he's not my friend, and then he dies in the pursuit of those.
He's kind of just like a hollow.
Yeah,
He just has nothing.
but he could have learned. He could have done things
so
differently.
I guess what we're asking is, does the movie gives him ample opportunity
Absolutely.
to care about
Absolutely.
anything,
Absolutely.
right? Like
It gives
It's,
him opportunity
you know-
to say, I won't steal your thesis. It gives him opportunity to say, let's find my
like,
friend
does that guy
who's
even
missing.
care about school that much? That
Let's-
he's like, I'm gonna
no.
steal your thesis.
He lacks
Like,
purpose.
dude,
No.
just pick another one. Like, why do you even
Yeah.
care?
Yeah, exactly.
That part was pretty funny to me. When
Well,
he
I
just
think
walks
it was
in,
supposed
hey, I
to
think I'm
be
going to
like,
do this place as my thesis.
I think it was
What?
supposed to be like,
Yeah.
he's such a fucking asshole.
I don't, but like, I think Jamie's right. It's more just he just like I don't think he even cares.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to even think about another thesis.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're doing that? I'll do that.
Yeah, there's a line that expresses that perfectly. Cheaty, I'm just gonna call him Cheaty. Josh says to him, "What you're doing is unethical, leechy, and lazy. Find your own passion." And that is that character in a nutshell.
Right.
All those things. Mark just wants to have sex with any foreign girl who's willing. That's his comic obsession, right? She's hot, like
Get high and
Swedish girl.
fuck. That's all he
Yeah.
wants.
And he is totally a comic character.
He's a comic.
100%.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring up like. I felt like the comic obsession thing like worked in this movie.
Yeah, there's-
like,
Oh, for him?
Yeah.
When his last scene made me laugh
Yeah.
Yeah.
so hard when he's like, she's gonna show me. It's like that alone.
You
That was a great line.
asshole.
Oh, she's gonna show me.
and the movie punishes him for that inauthentic love. That's
Right.
inauthentic love. He doesn't
Right.
love this girl he's gonna have sex with, so
Right.
he dies.
Right.
Josh is passionate about culture, but he doesn't love it. He disrespects it.
It's a stepping stone.
He's taking pictures of it.
Mhm.
He's going in where he's not supposed
Stealing
to.
the book. or
Yeah,
whatever.
he doesn't love it, right? So he dies in the pursuit of his inauthentic love
Right.
once again. Pele is like fully like trying to offer himself to Danny, and he says he offers the opposing side of that. I was most excited for you to come. Christian is my good friend, but do you feel held by him?
You know, what I like about Pele too is like he's like for at first you're like, oh, he's the character from Get Out. He's the girl. He's the girlfriend.
I actually think he is though.
No, he is.
Yeah.
No, he is the one who goes out into the world and brings them back.
Mhm.
But then in the end, in this movie, I actually believe he likes Danny.
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
yeah.
Yeah,
but I
but
think
which
it's
just
for-
changes that little bit. You know what I mean? Like he actually
Well,
like digs her.
If you look at the philosophy of the tribe or
I
whatever
guess
we're
she's
calling
gonna
them,
live and be like
yeah,
the
it's
queen,
all
so-
all this is good stuff.
Right.
Like they might not understand why they're being murdered, but it's all for the greater good.
Which
and
I-
blah,
But
blah,
I
blah.
think
Does that
it's
play into theme?
selfish,
Like if we
though.
look at this like as a modern day Wicker Man,
Mhm.
what I like the difference is that in the Wicker Man,
Mhm.
the reason they
with
concoct-
Nick Cage. Yeah.
either one works.
Either one.
Sadly, but that there's a Nick Cage one. But either one is they set up all this stuff to get a policeman there so they can sacrifice him so that their crops can come in.
Mhm.
The difference here is, which I love with Midsommar, is that they're doing it out of tradition alone
Yep.
for no benefit of any specificity. There's
Right.
not like our crops won't come in if we don't do this. We won't have babies. There's not a fertility. You know what I mean? It's just, oh no, every 90 years we gotta put a bunch of motherfuckers in a barn and light it on fire. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and that seems to play into like almost like they never questioned it.
That's right. They're fully
As
committed.
close as they
It's
are,
commitment.
they're apathetic about their commitment. They don't
That's
like
right,
they never.
yeah.
No one ever went,
This is
I don't
kinda
think we-
90 years. It's been 90 years.
Right.
So why not sacrifice our care? But they're so committed.
They're so
to the
close.
tradition.
They're such a family that they
Yeah.
never once blinked.
They wouldn't try. They
They would
question
never
it.
question it.
That's interesting.
And but it has no viable purpose.
Yeah,
They're not even trying to get into heaven or anything. They're just like
that's true.
become one with the earth again for the good of the tribe.
Yeah,
And it's just like that's such a difference from Wicker Man.
yeah. It's not as sinister. It's
Wicker
just,
Man's like, we got to eat, yo.
Yeah.
Like, we need somebody to burn.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like, yeah, this
There's
is just
that right.
yeah.
They're yeah. That makes sense.
That speaks to their closeness even more than Wicker
Yeah.
Man
Wow.
to me.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Bob taught me something. That's gonna be what have you learned? My what have you learned?
Oh, okay. Good.
I want to go back to Pele because I actually don't
Sorry,
think.
yeah,
No, because I think he's very manipulative. I think he's and I thought that before. He's like, I think he has like his own selfish motives for it. Like he's rewarded with a crown in the end. Like they're like, and you for bringing in the new blood with your intuition of blood.
Right,
and
right,
he's
right.
sitting there, pride, and he's got that crown. He's got that crown of weeds on his head, and he's so happy and he's so prideful. And one of the deleted scenes supports that scene that I was talking about, where he's like, "Do you feel held by him?" Continues, and he squeezes her arm. And she feels really uncomfortable. And he looks at her and he was like, our first primary language, and this isn't in the movie at all, of the Harga is emotion. And we have
The Harga, that's their name.
That's the Harga. He
Yeah.
said our first language is a non-speaking language. We have a secret emotion language. And he's like, so I may just be manipulating you through emotion. And she laughs and giggles, but it's described in the script as her feeling a little uncomfortable about him saying he's like manipulating her.
Sure.
And then he's like, bleh, and then he makes a joke about it. But she doesn't leave the scene feeling as comfortable about him as she does in the movie. She feels like he's just latching onto her and just another guy who's trying to take her for being vulnerable. He even says in that deleted scene, "You're vulnerable, and I love that about you." Like. Yeah, so I think Pele's a bad guy. I don't think he's a good guy.
Oh, I wasn't saying he was good.
Gotcha.
I'm just saying, like, he serves that function in the end.
What is her name in Get Out?
I'm bad with character names.
Yeah. He is. I think he is that character.
Oh, he's doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
It's
sure.
just in the end, he doesn't come off like she does. You know what I mean? Like he comes.
Give me the keys, Rose. That's what
Right,
it is.
there's none
Give me
of
the keys.
I was surprised that moment didn't happen.
Yeah.
I was ready for that moment to happen. Where they would be like, Pele, get us out of here, and he'd be like, no.
Yeah.
And it's like
Exactly.
there it is. But that never comes to.
And I think
He just kind
that's-
of pushes
speaks to
them
the apathy.
in. The apathetic
They just are
nature of
like-
everything. Yeah,
They're just they don't care.
they don't
They
care
don't
at
care
all.
about each other.
Well, even Christian's demise is he just goes with it.
Well,
He's drugged at that point.
he's drugged to the point
But-
where
But that's what I mean.
he's
There-
paralyzed.
There
I mean,
never does a big escape come. It's just like, okay, now we're gonna kill you.
But
Put me in the bear.
he is.
Right.
Yeah, he's very apathetic. You're right, but he's on drugs. Yeah,
And
I don't know.
and she's to the point where she's part of them at that point. So she's like, we'll kill all these people. Okay, it's strange that way.
It's really funny.
Well, I thought it. Yeah.
For as extreme as everything is around them, they're just like, oh, sure.
I mean, they're all screaming in pain. And,
I know.
You guys are funny with your.
Oh, it's just like the screaming in pain is like that's happening, and then you're not. Their reaction to that is like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that seems fine. That's what they do. That's what these people do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, you're right. Apathy.
Yeah, there's just apathy about how extreme they are.
So is there anything left with this one? How does
Well, I also wanted
Oh.
just to keep going on how there's more characters that like express.
Oh,
theme.
I think
Yeah,
if there's
yeah.
anything left, Jimmy will prompt
just
us on
go.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Maya, inauthentic love. She's making a love spell so that he'll have sex with her.
Right.
That's another inauthentic
Authentic
love. It's fake.
Right.
It's fake affection. Then what else? I think we have. I mean, I wanted to. So let's fuck it. Let's go into the deleted scenes.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
there's so I
Something
could
we
keep talking.
don't-
we don't usually
do, but
So-
you feel like it's instructive.
I feel like it's instructive.
We-
if it's
these-
instructive, it then
These
stood.
are scenes that were in the screenplay. We don't know if they were ever filmed.
Right.
You know, they might have been. Yeah.
And I
It is
think
a
it's
script
really,
podcast, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's a script
Right.
podcast. I think it's instructive how it would have changed the movie.
Okay.
Okay.
The first one is after they argue about him hiding the trip to Sweden, she breaks down and she cries. And as a response to that, to try to make her feel better, we get to see him ask her. And there's like a whole 1-page back and forth. Why don't you come with me to Sweden? And she's like, you're only asking me because I'm crying. You're not asking me because you want me to go. You don't care. And he's like, no, I do care. Like, he's like that debate is there on screen.
Yeah.
And so we get to see that. I think not seeing that, it works without it. What do you think?
Mhm.
Like,
I really love the scene where they get back alone and she's like, what if I was going to Alaska and didn't tell you about it or something?
yeah,
You know,
that is that scene.
Yeah, I love that. I actually really like that.
Me
the
too.
scene in the movie.
Yeah,
that they did
as
with it.
is. If
Mhm.
it had gone
Oh,
on
yeah, I
for
don't think
another
it needs
minute,
more.
yeah,
Mhm.
I like that they cut that. I think that's unnecessary.
Also, love when they tell her friends
yeah,
Mhm.
that she's going,
it saves that surprise too.
Yeah, it does
It
save
does
that.
save that surprise, and it lands like, what? Holy shit!
and to see the uncomfortable nature of.
Yeah,
So the only thing they care about is that someone's going to ruin their chill.
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the one thing they care about. They're like,
They
oh,
don't care about each other though.
no,
they don't want
but
to
they
have
care
a good
that
time
a
with each other.
buzzkill's going to ruin their drug trip.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she might. Yeah.
Yeah.
On page 27 and 29, after Danny runs off on the mushroom trip, it cuts back to the guys high, still acting like really goofy as shit,
Mhm.
like not like talking like children.
Mhm.
And Mark said, like, Christian expresses we should go find her. Like it's like more horror movie stuff.
Right.
Like, he's like, what if something happens to her? Like, she might be in trouble. And Mark and Josh are like, who cares? It's like, this is in the script, and they literally say, she's not our friend. She's not your friend either. And he's like, yes, she is. She's my friend. He doesn't say she's my
Girlfriend, just
he
my
just
friend.
says she's my
Yeah.
friend. And he's like, no, you just brought her here because I can't remember the reason. I should have printed it out. But they have a back and forth argument that starts as like a horror movie concern, but then they're like, we don't care.
Mhm.
We don't care what
Yeah.
happens to her. And then it cuts to her having another hallucination in the woods of all the people in her life. It's an extension of that where she sees the suicide person that The Rock sees her sister, who
Mhm.
opens her eyes. There's more of that, and it's more intense. And she sees Christian, and she goes to him, and he disappears. And she's like, no, there's nobody there. You're alone. And she says that you're alone like 5 times by yourself in the woods. You're alone. You're alone. You're alone. I think that's very instructive in like,
Yeah.
like we didn't need to see that. You know, if you keep that in, it's just like,
Also, it kind of reads like that anyway. Without those,
right.
you don't need.
I think
that's
it's very instructive that you don't need a whole scene where a character's just saying, "I'm alone, I'm
Mhm.
alone, I'm
Mhm.
alone." Like how much worse would the movie? Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it would have brought the movie
I'm
down.
alone. Nobody loves me. If only somebody could love me.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
right.
it's on.
Yeah.
It's in the script.
Right.
So who knows if they shot it right, Jamie?
Mhm.
On page 46 and 48, there is no spell cloth in the script. That's that shot where it goes on the cloth and it shows you the steps to make the love spell. Like a girl finds a guy and like cuts off her pubic hair. And
That's
bakes
not
it
in the script.
That's
huh?
not in the script anywhere. Instead, there is a 4-page long 16 millimeter film screening with the whole Harga community of that paper, that scroll
Mhm.
playing out with Harga actors. A teenage girl like choosing like a mate, and then like a teenage girl. This is like in the script. They acted out. She cuts her pubic hair. She puts it in a pie and bakes it and gives it to him. Then she has sex with him. Then she gets pregnant. Then she gives birth. All of this, and Christian and Danny are watching this together. So it's like a happy, it's like
And their ultimate apathy.
And they're like, and they're both like grossed out like by it, and and it's like this really awkward because they're not interested in having sex with each other.
Them seeing them be apathetic about that would be hilarious, though.
But
Yeah, it
so
would be funny,
there's like this 4-page. We got to see all that play out,
Right.
and I mean, what's the instructive thing? A little cloth that took 30 seconds communicated 4 pages of screen time. I think that was like a really good choice.
Yeah, a really good choice.
The elders who both jump are men. There's one of them is not women. I think that's a very interesting choice. I think it made a more balanced community. It felt like the community was. I think I think it would have changed the way it felt if it was just 2 guys sacrificing themselves.
Yeah, because they didn't want. He didn't obviously want it to be like a patriarchal, matriarchal
exactly.
society,
And I think by making one of those a woman is very instructive. Like it's a smart choice.
Like gender does not rule.
Gender does not matter.
It's
yeah.
irrelevant.
And in fact, I think the women are given way more position of power in the Harga society, which I'm sure there's a lot we can discuss about that too. On page 60, Christian has a conversation with Maya, the girl who he actually has a conversation. He's interviewing her about the culture. So you actually get the lovers meet scene, a gross version. You get a meet cute with Maya where she's all awkward.
Is it before she puts the thing under his bed?
I can't remember where it happens. It happens right after he decides to take this as his thesis. So I can't remember if he eats the pie before or after, but you actually get a lovers meet scene where she gets to have like conversations with him. It's super awkward, and he's definitely not into her in the script.
That's informative, though.
Yeah,
the fact that he's not into her says a lot about the future events.
I was actually thinking you were going to say the opposite, where like he was kind of into her or something, or he was kind of curious.
Because then I would be like, okay, now it all makes sense. If he's kind of like, like you said earlier, but he's not a horn dog.
Yeah.
Like Christian's not.
He's not Mark.
He's not Mark. Is it weird that I don't know if it's a deleted scene, but is it weird that we don't see any sexual activity between Christian and
Danny?
Yeah,
I think that's because they don't have intimacy. So I think that's communicating
but I'm saying
their lack of
showing.
What I'm saying is that's showing what Christian. He's not in any way concerned about sex. Like he's not with her just to have sex either. It's not like he cares so little and he wants sex.
That's
it's like
true.
He doesn't even care about that.
Yeah, that's.
He doesn't even care about like.
He's just guilty. He just feels guilty. He doesn't want to. He's shamed. He's
dead.
Ashamed.
He's dead in every way.
He's just.
Yeah. Right.
Talking about him is very interesting. And how he's portrayed. 67 to 69 minutes is that scene I told you about, that prototypical horror movie scene where she's like, these people are crazy. Something bad's gonna happen. This isn't right. We have to get out of here. I'm scared. Like we have to escape. Like she's expressing like we're not gonna survive. And he's like doubling down on the anthropological aspect of it, and he's like nah, this is their culture, like we need to acclimate. So it's like, you need to join them, we need to acclimate, like, and she's like, I don't want to acclimate, I want to get out of here. And it's like this what it turns into is a relationship argument. And she's like, you don't care about me, blah blah blah, and he's like, she's like, you didn't want me to come. It's all those things. It devolves into another relationship argument, and I think cutting that scene like changes the movie so much. Like imagine if that was in there, like it wouldn't.
Also, these scenes are starting to reveal themselves as like really written by a dude.
Yeah, it's very
like the woman is like zero fun. She's like whining, complaining always.
Yeah, it's a lot more.
Yeah, I'm glad they weren't in the movie.
I'm so glad they.
She seems so much stronger in the final version.
That's kind of what I love about her.
Yeah.
I actually think in a weird sort of way, she's rather, even though she's broken, she's kind of got the right attitude.
Absolutely.
She's kind of powerful.
even-
Like even before
Well,
she
takes her
becomes-
power
Yeah.
back in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but-
definitely.
But like these scenes are making her sound like
Yeah.
a typical.
I'm so glad they cut her.
Yeah, it's
Which
just
is
not
why,
great.
to me, I keep viewing this movie as like Christian's movie because I'm like, he's the one that needs dark, he doesn't, and he pays the price.
That's so
So it's like a
interesting.
tragedy.
Like he's not the main character, but it still could be his movie.
It feels
He
like
chooses the wrong way.
it feels like the lesson is about him. So if we want to learn a lesson, we
Look
stare
at what
him.
he did.
We don't stare at her and learn her lesson. We stare at him and learn his lesson.
And what did he do? He never made himself emotionally available, and he never admitted to the person that he's not willing to give them the time. He
Yeah,
doesn't care
yeah.
about their grief.
I think just saying he never cared.
he doesn't
Mhm.
care.
He doesn't learn to care about anything.
And he never admits that. I don't care about you. Because that's the truth. I don't care about you. Is like
I don't care about
that's
this.
good, Jamie.
I don't care about
That's really
school.
good. Like,
Like-
he's the one, because I do think he clearly has the same wrong way goal when he gets there. Like
Mhm.
he keeps trying. He gives her the birthday cake. Like you know what I mean? And then he's
He's doing the absolute minimum. Too.
Oh yeah, shitty job because he doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
But he cares about the guilt and the shame, I guess.
Right. Well,
Um,
I mean, not to bury this kind of lesson deep in a long podcast, but there's a thing I saw on Twitter that I've been thinking of lately. That's this. It's a shorthand for character arc, and how it goes is, and I'll use this again in another podcast. What do they fear most? And like in his case, I'd say maybe being the bad guy. Like he doesn't want to be the bad guy. What's his goal? To keep them to have fun, but not be the bad guy is kind of what he wants to
To-
be.
Which is weird because he's
I don't know
portrayed
what
as not even having fun.
No,
You
his-
seem that
his
into
level
it.
of
I mean,
fun
he's
is a
still
little
keeping the
less. Yeah.
relationship together. He's
Yeah.
trying, but he's not doing a good job of trying because he doesn't care.
Right.
And then,
Uh,
and then the third,
it's very interesting
then
Yeah.
the third step,
and very honest.
the third
Yeah.
step in this formula is use those two to come up with a mantra that they could say, like,
Between the two.
yeah, I will not allow her to force me to break up with her, or she'll have to break up with me. She'll have to break up with me. Might be that mantra or something, whatever
Yeah.
it is. Like, and
Well,
then
he's like waiting her out.
yeah, and then
for a
the
bunch,
arc
yeah.
is them having to break their mantra, and he doesn't, so he dies.
And she does.
That's my kind of
Yeah.
like feel.
she
That's
does.
Jamie. I think
You know?
actually the thing that's great because
That's
like
great, Jamie.
then the end coda of the movie is that one of them decided to break up finally.
That's
and the
all
other,
it is.
Yeah, and the other one did.
I mean, I'll read
Yeah.
the description.
That works. I
Yeah.
think that really works.
Yeah.
That
we're
really
in
works.
we're jumping around, but
the
it's
one
a
who
jumping
did,
around
the one who
movie.
made no decision got punished.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because okay, let's read the script. The end,
And it's
the
fairy
end.
tale logic. It's not
Yeah.
That's what it is, and
It's
that's
not
really
like-
important,
because
Bob.
people are arguing about did he
The
deserve it.
movie's not
but
saying
that's
he
not
deserves to die. The movie's saying fairy tale logic deserves in a
what he
cinematic
didn't
language.
choose, so he dies.
Yeah.
If he's the one who
It's
said,
like-
"I think this is over," he would have lived.
It's
Yeah.
like slasher logic.
Yeah.
Like people in the slasher movies don't
Right,
deserve to
right.
have their head
We're-
cut off, but they did something in the movie
Well-
that deserves judgment.
We're not arguing that if you have a shitty boyfriend, you should kill them.
Not at
In
all.
a bear costume.
And I don't think the movie's
Right.
arguing that either.
No, I don't think it is.
But
no.
but people are taking it literally.
Twitter takes a
And-
lot of stuff
yeah,
literally. So yeah, yeah.
I'll read it because I think this because the first time I walked out of the movie I was like confused about what the end was trying to tell me about her and the movie and once I like landed on, because I told you I was like emotionally available to a woman, and then I was in a relationship where a woman was emotionally unavailable to me, so I've
Right.
been in both shoes.
Right.
I was in a relationship where I was in a bear costume.
I've watched Austin
Shit,
Powers in a
dude.
relationship. Sorry.
Okay. And what's also interesting is in the script in the end, the whole last 30 seconds plays out with them hoisting her onto a throne again. So she's lifted up in the air watching him burn. She's like the queen, you know what I mean?
That might have been a production thing.
Yeah, they might have been like, it's easier to just have
Just
her
have
on
her on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
She can just stare at it.
yeah.
It's fine.
But these changes are interesting. On the upward lift, we cut to a close-up of Danny's face. She is being carried forward. Her expression, which begins as one of great distress, starts to turn. Her agony subsides into confusion. What's happening? Where am I? Oh, I'm on this chair being carried. Her expression then goes from fear to excitement to confusion. Then she lets out a laugh.
which we can't hear over the music or the deafening fire. Danny is being taken over by an invading sense of pride and contentment. This soon evolves into a manic exhilaration. Then Danny beams. She has been embraced by this new family. She is a queen. She is not alone. A smile breaks onto Danny's face. She has surrendered to a joy only known by the insane. She's lost herself completely, and she is finally free. It is horrible, and it is beautiful.
This is all.
That's the last paragraph of the script.
Okay, so there's nobody saying all that.
No.
Okay.
That's how the script that's how
ends.
Ari Aster describes Danny
And the actual
experiencing
ending.
these things.
No, I haven't seen it for 2 weeks, but it's her just staring with like a slight grin, right?
She's moaning with she's
With
crying
moaning
with
with the people.
with the people as one.
Right.
They're crying together.
But that doesn't happen.
She changes to a smile.
She changes to a smile, but
We
that,
see the smile.
what you just read doesn't
Yeah.
happen like that.
It doesn't
right?
happen. It doesn't play out exactly
Right,
like that.
Right.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that he described her expressing every range of possible emotion that she could and then smiling about it. I think that's like
She's not apathetic anymore.
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
So maybe the theme is apathy is the enemy, just in general. Like because you
not
could
feeling.
not feeling bad. like your Frank is not feeling bad.
Not feeling.
Feeling good.
Frankenstein reviews the movies.
Oh no, there's more deleted scenes. They're so crazy. I know we've been talking about this movie.
I mean, Jimmy, if you want to,
let's go. Look, okay.
I have 2 more hours.
I'm sorry, guys. I like talking about this movie.
You know, I cannot believe how you hated this thing.
I
like
know.
like
I
a
saw
day
it again
ago.
though. The peeing on the tree scene does not exist. Instead, they're sitting at the table, and
Really?
it's not in the script.
Oh, wow.
Instead, they're sitting at the table watching a bunch of the ceremonial stuff. One of the ceremonies is a bunch of the people climb a tree, and they climb to the top of the tree and cut a gold pineapple from the top, a gold pine cone from the top of it. And he sees that girl he wants to have sex with, Inga, getting all excited about these climbers climbing to the top of the and getting the pine cone. So he runs from the table. They're like, "What are you doing?" In that moment where he's like, "I'm gonna take a piss," is him going, "I'm gonna go get a pine cone." And he runs to the tree and he climbs up the tree to get the pine cone, and he breaks the branches on the tree. And then that dialogue plays out like, "You fucking American, you desecrated our tree." The dialogue plays out the exact same, but instead of peeing on a tree, he broke a
the
tree
branch.
branch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like pissing on it.
Oh
better.
yeah, but it's so weird that it,
I loved his reaction
Yeah.
to
What?
them getting indignant.
Indignant
about it.
about-
What, man? It was
What?
just a tree, a stupid tree.
it's just a dead tree.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't noticed what's going on at all.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he's
like,
like completely oblivious.
Where's that hot chick? But yeah, so that
It's
in
just at
that
a bar
weird,
on a
that's-
Saturday night or something. Come on, chill, man.
You're in
Um,
Sweden, dude. Like in the middle of the woods.
All these weird people.
Yeah. Like at that point, he had seen 2 people kill themselves,
Yeah.
and he's still
Yeah.
like, "Chill, dude. Like
Dude,
relax.
Let's have some sex. Where's Inga?
He's trying to do the font.
Um,
Hey.
yeah. Let's see. Then when Simon goes missing, it's another horror movie scene. Christian and Mark go with Connie, the fiance of the British guy, and they go searching for her dead. She's like, "I saw them drag him into the woods. They killed him." Like nobody says anything like that in this movie in the current edit,
Never.
but in the script, she's like, "They killed him. I saw him drag his dead body in the woods. We have to find him." And Christian and that Connie and Mark, the one who doesn't give a shit, go into the woods and look. And Mark skips out. He's like, "This is dumb." And then Christian keeps looking for Connie, for the dead body with Connie, and eventually they don't find him. And then it cuts to Christian and Mark, and they're basically like, "Yeah, that girl's full of shit. Like, nobody killed anybody." And Mark's like, "Yeah, she's fucking crazy." So it's like, those are like standard horror movie scenes. And the fact that they're not in there, I think oddly makes it a better
I agree.
horror movie.
I agree.
Yeah.
He's taking those kind of on the nose
Yeah.
portions out.
You know what? Like hearing these deleted scenes and having listened to that podcast, it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
like he's really. Well, I think he's great at besides everything. But his editing. Like he
Yeah.
realizes the type of movie he's shooting
What it
for
is.
and where he made his mistakes.
Right.
and he took them all out to
And
make.
I think that's really instructive
Yeah,
because I
it
mean
is.
that's another. Technically, the editing room is another draft. Just realized.
right. No,
The funny thing about it, just me as a screenwriter, these scenes that are deleted almost sound like the scenes that they made me put back in. They seem like the notes, and I had to
That's
write
so
the scene.
interesting.
yeah, we don't understand why they do this. Can you have a scene where they talk
exactly.
about it? Right.
They seem exactly like
And that
it.
might
Yeah,
be
yeah.
what they were,
they-
and he was able to get his way.
Get his way on the edit.
And
Do you
cut
think
him
like
out.
like they're like Hereditary was hit and then he got to edit the movie? And he was
Maybe
like,
so.
yeah.
Honestly,
Like, do what
that's
you
what
want.
they all
Yeah.
sound like. They all, because I've done those notes before, and they're always just like that. They're like, we don't understand why people aren't
This was a
running away.
commission. This was him doing a
That's
job.
so interesting,
It
Jamie.
really does feel like that.
Like he
Yeah.
didn't want them in there, and he wrote
Yeah.
them to appease somebody.
No, on
who-
the flip side, he could have said, you know what, I'm going to go back through and take away all those scenes and kind of let people decide. But they really do feel like those scenes that
They feel like
make-
notes.
They
is what you're
feel
saying.
like the ones that I
That's
add
so
all the
interesting.
time to horror scripts. All the time.
That's really interesting.
And also, there's one scene that's I think in the movie that's not in the script. Is that I don't want to. You keep going, Janie. I feel like
No,
I
that's
cut you
all.
off.
No, not at all. I
The
was done.
scene where he goes, so then he's Christian's looking for Simon's dead body, right?
Mhm.
So then that scene where she comes up to Christian and she's like, Simon just left Connie, just left without him, and he's like, well, shit, what a dick move. And then he turns around and keeps talking to the guy about what the culture because he doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
That's not in the script. So they must have made a conscious decision at some point not to shoot those horror movie scenes.
Mhm,
Like what's the patch? And the patch is better.
Mhm.
Like
that he doesn't care.
that
about
he doesn't
anything.
care.
They don't care about missing people.
Yeah, and because he doesn't care, it makes me believe the choices more. Oddly,
Wow.
yeah. So I
That
think-
is, it's amazing how like just hackish those other scenes are. They would change it to a whole
they
different
would
movie.
change it. It's 23 pages of deleted material. 23 pages.
Yeah,
It's like that's the difference between like a Final Destination and a Midsommar.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like not that Final Destination's bad.
Yeah, no, I love.
But Final Destination's
Destination.
trying to do something completely different.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Hostile.
It's
Yeah,
more
no.
hostile.
Yeah.
That's
That's ex-
right.
yeah, you're-
That's exactly
Hostel's
what
a
it
way
is. And
better
they
example,
commissioned him to make a hostel in Sweden. God.
Because those
How about
scenes
that?
totally make it seem like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, is
I
there
mean,
anything?
damn.
Is there anything left?
I think I went through all of it.
You went
that
through
was
all your
great.
stuff?
That was really helpful.
Yeah. That would have made the movie.
So different.
I'm excited to see what he's putting back in. If it's those or
The only thing I can think of, there's gore, but it's just like ceremonial gore. They kill a bunch of. There's a scene, and literally the guy Mark, like there's a scene where they slaughter 9 live animals. It's another ceremonial part of it. There's 9 live animals of different livestock and they slaughter them and pull out their guts and everything. And Mark's like, well, this doesn't bring a smile to my face. Like,
damn it, yeah.
They're probably going to edit back in the scenes with Larry David.
But that's
God,
the only,
that's such a good idea. That's just another
Pop
movie
him.
that needs to be
I mean,
made.
that's an SNL skit version of Midsommar, right there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
This needs
yeah.
to be made.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what did you learn from us talking about it?
God, so much. I can't wrap my head. I'm thinking about so much about this movie. I think what I learned is that through talking through the deleted scenes that he might have been wanting originally to make a way more traditional horror movie. And that somewhere
Yeah.
along the lines they decided like, no, that wouldn't be the right way to take this story. So I think that's
Also,
what
I don't
learned.
think that's his speciality.
Yeah, it's not who he is.
Yeah, it's not really who he is.
And
right.
I'm glad for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so much from this one, and I think it's a good episode because this is the type of movie that you want to have a long talk with your friend, and hopefully that's what this episode serves as.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that whole deleted scene thing is kind of fascinating to me because I can't tell you how much shell shock I'm getting from hearing those things. I can't tell you how many times I've done those exact notes. And,
Wow.
So I
Me
don't know.
made those choices that you didn't want to make.
All those scenes you read, except for the gore ones and stuff, they just feel like something I've been asked to put in things that because I'm a big fan of like leaving some of the explaining out or making people understand. But sometimes you get that note like, we don't understand why they're leaving. And usually my response to that, because I'm trying to get a green light, is to go in and specifically write on the nose, here's why we're not leaving. Why? Or I'll have the character say, why aren't we leaving? And then
So
somebody
it's just the note itself.
I'll do that. That's my trick. Like I did this many times where when I get so sick of it that I'm just like, and usually they get edited out. Is the funny
Right,
thing.
because it's not a
So-
good line, right?
So,
yeah.
and everybody, like the director and they'll all be like, why are we getting this note? It's like, isn't it, can't you understand it? Just from the context. And I'll be like, look, I'll take care of it. So I'll go in and it'll say, we just saw somebody commit suicide. Why aren't we? I'll literally quote the producer. Why aren't we leaving? And then I'll just write the response. Like, we're not leaving because we're anthropologists and we need to say, or whatever it is, whatever the stupid
Right,
thing is.
right.
And that's almost what that sounds like. to me. It
Yeah,
reminds me.
23 pages of
Yeah,
that.
it reminds me of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I think I already knew this, but I love the way Jamie. What I learned is how you pretty much boiled it down to the choice to break up in the end,
Yeah.
and that being what the punishment is about.
Yeah.
Like
She's
fairy tale.
finally a failure fairy tale version. She's finally
Breaking
free
up,
of
yeah.
this relationship that's not emotionally available to her.
And I love the thought
and she has
that
a family.
in another universe of this movie, he could have made that decision too, and probably lived.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he just
had
made,
chose the right way.
if he cared about one thing, it would have opened the door to him caring about all things, and he would have been like, "Oh wait, I want to live," and that's when he becomes the Rambo guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
but
what
he doesn't.
He doesn't. He
But
just
he
lets
doesn't.
himself.
That's so good, Jamie.
He pretty much just slips into a coma and dies in this movie. That's what that guy's like asleep at the beginning. He goes into a coma and dies. That's his arc in the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And he doesn't care about any of it. That's
Because he didn't learn the lesson.
he didn't learn a single thing. It's I think I learned more than I already thought I knew about Christian. That's,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 That's kind of. I have to admit, just talking it through, I really had no idea that's where I would go with that.
Neither did
So-
I didn't either.
So it was
Yeah.
very useful to. That's why it's always fun to talk these things
Yeah.
through. Like
This
I
is-
said,
Just keep talking.
This is also like so for anyone that listens, this is such a different type of episode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like talking about Men in Black and
Yeah.
talking about this. It's
yeah,
like
I'm
what?
talking about my past failed relationships. Sitting with a psychiatrist in a theater who wasn't there to console me. He was just my friend.
So if you hate this episode, listen to the Galaxy
Yeah.
Quest one or something.
this is almost like a film theory episode
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
more
right,
than a
right.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
all mixed. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was. I think I didn't realize the first time I watched it how well crafted it was and how much effort was put into expressing a specific theme. And I think that what we keep finding is that when it's a good movie, it really always has something to say. You know,
Mm.
it always you always
I think
end up.
I usually feel that movies that either divide people,
Mhm.
if they create a reaction,
Yeah.
like when Jimmy said he hated it to
Yeah.
us, I
First
didn't.
time.
But even when you just said that, my first thought is I didn't say it, but I was gonna be like, well, that means you're giving it a good review, in my
Yeah.
opinion, because that means it moved you.
It brought up all that shit.
Well, I'm saying
Yeah.
the fact that you hate it, that's like a positive thing, isn't that what?
Yeah.
It,
I mean, most movies that I see that I don't like, they're just kind of meh.
but that's
ugh.
that's the worst review.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I was just bored. I
For him to
would rather
say,
be somewhere else.
I hate
Yeah.
this. That's like, oh, so it did something.
Yeah.
Either pissed you off or it
Mhm.
made you deal with something you don't want to deal with,
And it did.
and you're like, ah! So that's a good review to me.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you just said I hated it because it's a pile of shit, I would have been like, that's still better than
That is
going.
not what I said.
That's not what you said, but even somebody that does say that, it's better than Jamie going,
yeah.
is way worse than any other
Mhm.
review. Yeah.
Though there
So-
are movies like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull that I really hate, but in a weird sort of way, I love hating them.
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it sort of get me fired up.
Yeah.
Whereas, but I'm not necessarily sure that's a good review still. but they're instructive. When I
They're
watch
really
them,
instructive.
when I'm watching, there's something about
the missed
it.
opportunities.
Hating on it is instructive to me in some way.
I hate it too.
I don't think there were missed opportunities in this movie at all at any point.
Really? That's
Well,
okay. No, I'm not.
yeah.
I'm not disagreeing. I just
Yeah.
that's a big statement from Jimmy George.
yeah,
too.
yeah. For what it's trying to do, I think it did everything it needed to do. Yeah.
Needed to do properly.
Yeah.
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 I was-
Including cut 23 pages of scenes.
Yeah.
I hope that those aren't going back in.
Yeah.
I don't think. Why would he?
Yeah. It's
He
gotta
has
be gore.
to be aware of what those
I think
are.
that
right?
I think the 16 millimeter film's going back in.
I think it
That's my
does.
vote.
I think they
That's my vote.
shot that
Right.
and then they were like, "This is too much. Let's just write."
Well, they
draw
probably
it on
didn't
a-"
shoot the 16mm film, but they shot their reaction to watching it.
Yeah.
And now they have to
Okay,
go back.
if-
and
That's probably it.
If I had one thing I'd like to see back in, and I know I keep bringing it back, but I feel like that Austin Powers thing was them. They teach the people they send out about culture. And I would
Mhm.
like to know a little bit about the process of how they teach the people they decide to send out from
Rum
the hard
Springer. It's
yeah.
like
Yeah, but they obviously have some sort of like they have a hut there that probably has pop culture in it.
that's it.
And I want to know what they're teaching them.
they have a blockbuster. In
Right,
there.
right.
The Giver, like the
Yeah.
Giver.
Right, yeah.
The
It's just
Giver
funny
of
that
this is what the rest of the world is like. You are the one person who gets to
but they're
learn
also
it.
like working at like a Soviet Russia type level where it's like 2019 they're like Austin Powers. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
haven't gotten a Bo Rat
Yeah,
yet even.
but that's
You know what I mean?
motivated. They
It's still
haven't got-
motivated. But it's interesting. I kind of would want to see that small scene of like
Yeah.
here's the
Do you think they just riffed
Education
on
hut.
movies? They were like, just walk in and say like 20 different movies. Just go. And she was
Right.
like, Austin Powers.
Yeah.
And they were like,
Point
Men
Break,
in Black. Point
Speed.
Break.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. I just want just that process, a little tiny pinch of it.
I think they listen to this podcast. That's-
Why wouldn't they listen to podcasts? You know,
Absolutely.
to
The
learn about the
podcast
world.
with them, the A24 podcast with Robert Eggers and Ari Aster is very awesome.
Anyone, if you listen to this, check out the A24 podcast. We'll plug a much more
plug
successful
a much more
podcast.
successful.
You're right. But I think that's everything,
Yeah.
right? I don't think we have
Yeah.
anything more to say, right?
I think this is a long episode.
It's-
was a long one.
it is long. Yes,
Longer
But-
than the movie. Not quite.
but I think is it safe to say we'll probably revisit Ari Aster in the future?
Absolutely.
I think it is,
Yeah.
right? Because he's definitely
Jamie's like, hell no.
he liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
I have a feeling the next movie's not going to be horror. He keeps saying he doesn't want to do horror for the next
I hope
one.
it's like a complete
Oh
comedy.
my gosh, a comedy would be so fun.
Yeah. Well, I think he's the type that'll do a comedy, but it'll be so dark and there'll be something weird about it.
Yeah.
You know, I
Feel
think
like
we'll
a
still get his
Coen Brothers
vibe.
type of comedy.
If
or
you've seen
something.
his short films, they're comedies, but they're crazy dark.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
All right.
All right, thanks for listening. Oh yeah, one more thing.
Oh
We
yeah.
have an email address.
Oh right.
We
the email.
always forget. That's why no emails ever come.
Well, we start the episode with the Twitter
With the
thing,
Twitter
so
thing,
it's like
yeah.
you know.
If you've got any comments or questions or anything, writersblockbusterspodcast@gmail.com.
Or you can use Twitter.
Or you can use Twitter.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Some people have their preferred form of communication.
I'm not an email guy. It's fun. You good? Everybody good? All right.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys.
You have just listened to Writers Blockbusters, a screenwriting podcast featuring two professionals and another guy. Available only on Thundergrunt.